live. Hello, hello, hello. I hope everyone's doing well. I already streamed today, but earlier I ended up not feeling too well and went to go lie down for a little, so I feel much better now, and I was like, well, I want to continue with the story, maybe do some other games later. Have to see. So let me just do something really quick and then I will get right into playing. There we go. Okay. Wonder what's gonna happen. Oh yeah, 2 people just died. Probably didn't want to dirty an innocent girl's retinas with the repulsive blood in this room. That was surely the correct decision. I was acting tough right now, so I didn't mind, but for the rest of my life, whenever I see red paint scattered around, I'll probably remember this room and start to vomit. My retinas have already had this room burned into them. In other words, it's already too late for me. Ara? Right after they entered the servant room, Goda-san and Shannon-chan trembled. We shook, wondering what horrible news had arisen to make them tremble again. Yeah, I had a feeling the bodies would be gone. Aunt Rosa also shuddered, raising her gun high in search for whatever it was that had made them shudder. But she couldn't find it. It was only natural. They were trembling because they couldn't find it.
なんだなんだどうしたってんだ一体
二人の言いたいがありません
どういうことなのそんなはずないんです確かにお二人はここに
おいおいおいなんだよ死体がどこかへ歩いてったってのかそんなわけないだろだってこの使用人室は施錠されてたんだろそれを今ゴーダさんが開けて入ったわけじゃないかってことはなんだジェシカの部屋と同じってことかよまた密室の中から消えたってのかよそんなバカな
バカな
私にも何のことやらさっぱり私たちはこの部屋を出るとき確かに鍵をかけて私こそ何が何やらもうわからないのです
There was a timid, pitiful smile on Goda-san's face that he definitely wouldn't have let shown normally. Shannon was the same.
二人の死体が消えたしかも鍵をかけたのに消えた仮にカノン君が犯人だとしてもカノン君はマスターキーをもう持ってないはず
違いますカノン君は犯人じゃありません
シャノン僕はシャノンを信じるよカノン君は犯人なんかじゃないきっとこれは彼によく似た何者かの仕業なんだ
いいえカノン君はマスターキーを手に入れられたわよだって彼のマスターキーはジェシカちゃんの遺体のポケットから見つかったそしてその鍵は誰が手に入れた
そうだ南條先生が
That's right. Back then it definitely was Dr. Nanjo who searched through Jessica's clothes and found the master key. So if someone had the opportunity to search Dr. Nanjo's corpse, it would have definitely been easy for them to take the master key back. Aunt Rosa searched under the bed and in the locker. By now I also understood what that meant. If you assume there are 2 culprits, then this can easily be explained. The first person was Cannon, or maybe an imposter who looked like him. He finished off Dr. Nanjo and ran off somewhere. The second person was probably the 19th person, Beatrice, whose location was unknown. That person hid under the bed in the servant room beforehand, while Dr. Nanjo's body was enshrined here. They waited for Genji-san and the rest to leave. Then later they crawled out, took the master key back from Dr. Nanjo's pocket, and carried the 2 corpses away for some reason. If they then locked the door with the master key, you'd end up with this closed room.
「 ジェシカの部屋の推理を前提になかなか素早く組み立ててきたものよ。その方法なら魔法でなくても密室は作り出せよう。まずは及第点というところか。しかし実に面白いが、お前の言う方法で犯人がマスターキーを取り返したなら、その犯人はマスターキーをジェシカの遺体から南條が回収したことを知っていたことになる。
言われなくても分かってるぜ。あの時あの場にいた人物以外知り得ない情報だって言いてんだろ。この第三の密室があっさり破られちまったもんで、そういう手で俺に闇を言うしかねえんだろ。同じネタの繰り返しは芸がないぜ。
I may have managed to bluff that, but that move of the witches hurt so bad. I can tell that I'm cracking under the thing I wanted to deny the most. This person's trying to close in on me from two directions. On one hand, there's a frontal attack where she tries to force me to believe that there's a witch using a closed room tricks that only a witch could do. On the other hand, there's the rear attack where she tries to lure me into wanting a witch to exist by strengthening my suspicion of those close to me. In the first closed room, the chapel, she used the frontal attack but didn't work on me. So by the second closed room, and now in the third closed room, she's definitely changing the direction of her attack. However, the fact that she is changing the direction of her attack proves my resistance is having some effect. And she must have given up on the frontal attack because she clearly can't win with it. I tried to settle my unease by thinking these things, but apparently the witch had seen through me long ago.
成功法は書かぬ。絡めては成功法と同時に進めてこそ意味がある。絡めてのみに出するは手段が目的となった時に起こる愚策に過ぎぬぞ。
そうですかい。じゃあお得意の赤で何者かが使用人室に隠れていたを復唱してもらおうじゃないか。
その必要はない。お前の推理の前提は今が。
拒否かよ。やっぱり誰かが隠れていたんだな。
ローザが今からお前の前提をまあ耳を傾けてみよ。
信じてください、ローザ様。確かにここに2人の遺体を安置したんです。この床の真っ赤な血は彼らのものなのです。
Aunt Rosa began to search through various objects around the room, her back to Goda-san as he cried out in supplication. Eventually she found something and for a while stopped moving.
ローザ様、私たちは断じて嘘などついて、間違いなく2人の遺体はここにあったんです。
静かに。死体を隠した本人は死体はよそに持ち去ったと告白しているわ。これでね。
Rosa showed them a single sheet of paper over her shoulder.
それは一体まさか礼拝堂にあったのと同じ紋章入りの封筒の手紙？
ええ、そうよ。ここに堂々と置いてあったわ。読むわね。後宮家の皆様、黄金の碑文の謎解きはいよいよ佳境に入りましたでしょうか。皆さんに私を止めることができる唯一の方法が碑文の謎を解くことなのです。それ以外のいかなる方法をもってしても私と儀式を止めることはできません。くれぐれも皆さんの目的をお間違いなきよう、私を探そうとも、私から逃れようとも、私を否定しようとも、黄金のベアトリーチェ。追伸、2人の遺体を儀式にお借りします。後ほどご返却いたしますのでご容赦をお願いいたします。あとこの鍵は皆様のものですのでご返却いたします。
As Rosa read that aloud, the contents of the envelope lay exposed in the palm of her hand. There were two master keys. The master key that Nanjo had found in Jessica's pocket, which originally had been Kanon's, and Kumasawa's master key.
なんだと？ってことはどういうことだよ。ふざけんなよ、またかよ。またマスターキーを持ってる使用人しか疑えないってのかよ。
わらわは赤では言ってはおらぬぞ。彼らがこの部屋に施錠をして去った時、この部屋に何者かが隠れていた可能性を。
ベッドの下にでも隠れれば死体をどこかへ運び出すのはできないことじゃない。しかしそれじゃ施錠ができない。
I wonder if she meant she was hiding there as a witch so they couldn't sense her.
わざわざ手に入れたマスターキーをここへ置いてっちまってる。
And that's why she couldn't say it in red.
そうだ、忘れてた。この部屋の本来の鍵である使用人室の鍵はどうなっている？
それなら使用人室の奥のキーボックスに収められているぞ。使用人室の鍵は数本あるが、その全てが
ってことはジェシカの部屋の鍵の時と使用人も便利なマスターキーがあれば不要な鍵はわざわざ持ち歩かないもんな。キーボックスにしまわれっぱなしになってるのも納得だぜ。
その他の条件も何も変わらぬ。出入りは唯一の扉と唯一の窓から以外は不可能。故に隠し扉などの不正規な出入り手段は否定。喜べ名探偵ども。そしてそれらはいずれ扉も窓も施錠時にはいかなる出入りも許さない。つまり施錠を維持したまま扉を外す、隙間を作ってすり抜けるなどなどは当然だが、扉の開錠は使用人室の鍵とマスターキー以外は不可能。毎回これを読み上げるのも面倒だの。今度これをまとめて一言に略す言葉でも考えよう。
だがこの部屋に誰かが隠れていたことは復唱できねえだろ。しかしそれだけでは密室の扉が破れない。ああ、クソクソ。ダメだダメだ、全然ダメだ。
お得意のチェス盤をひっくり返すとやらはどうした？
チェス盤を
But
繰り返す。
excuse me, sorry.
俺が犯人ならどうする？死体をどこかへ運び出す。手紙を残す。内側から鍵を閉める。ここから何かの方法で部屋を脱出すればいいんだ。くそ、そんな方法はあるのか？扉と窓以外からは外に出られないと赤で言われちまってる。あ、
At that moment, I got it. That's right. The culprit carried away the corpses, left the letter. And since they didn't use a hidden door, they weren't able to escape. That's it. This isn't a question, it's an answer.
ベアト、復唱要求の前にお前の言う隠し扉の定義を確認したい。
何を思いついたやら。よかろう。説明する。隠し扉とは知らぬ人間が認識できぬ出入り口のことであろうが、そんなこと子供でも知っておろう。
つまり部屋の外に出られなかったらそれは隠し扉じゃないってことだよな。
ほう、そうきたか。
俺は犯人は密室から抜け出したものだとばかり思っていた。違うんだ。犯人だって密室から。だから隠れてやり過ごそうとした。
I thought he was gonna start suspecting the people, okay. During the second closed room, I tried applying the theory to Cannon-kun, but after hearing Cannon-kun was killed and unread, I gave up. After that, I proposed a third person might have been in the room before escaping through a hidden door, and then for the first time I was faced with the red claim that no hidden doors exist. Now I'll move from there to what I've just learned. That term hidden door refers to things that make it possible to enter or leave the room. In other words, this category doesn't cover things that don't actually lead in or out of the room, even if these things could never be recognized by people who didn't know about them beforehand. So if we had something like hidden shelf or secret closet, for example, that wouldn't count as a hidden door. That means the third person from Jessica's room is hiding there waiting for us to leave. How pathetic. It was all just a bit of wordplay. It looks like that technique should be enough to handle even this third closed room. there's a hidden shelf under the bed or anything like that, that'd be enough. The culprit's hiding somewhere waiting for us to leave. The culprit is also trapped in this closed room even now, which means at this very moment, the culprit is hiding in the servant room holding their breath, and that means what the hell, even though we've been tortured by closed room 3 times at this very moment, we've actually got the culprit in checkmate.
ようやく見えてきたぜ。くらえベアト。負傷要求。この部屋には俺たち以外の誰もいない。俺たちってのは俺、ジョージの兄貴、マリア、ローザおばさん、ゲンジさん、ゴーダさん。そうだ、言えねえだろ。
ほーほー。
痛えとこ疲れただろ。拒否なら拒否と言いやがれ。次行くぜ。負傷要求。
I don't know how they're hiding in this room, but if they are, then this solves the second closed room, Jessica's room at the same time. I finally caught her by the tail. With this, I can explain everything. Witches don't exist, and I don't have to suspect anyone. Alright, starting now, I'll spin it all around. Now I'll have her repeat that.
この部屋にはお前たち以外は存在しない。お前たちの定義とはバトラー、ジョージ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジ、ゴーダ、シャノンのことを指す。ジェシカの部屋に話を戻す。ジェシカの死体発見時、バトラー、ジョージ、マリア、ローザ、ゲンジ、ゴーダ、シャノン、熊沢、南條のみだった。おっと、死体のジェシカももちろん含む。よって、ジェシカの部屋の件、そしてこの使用人室の件の両方について、そなたが認識していた以外の人間は、誰も隠れていない。さらに言おう。扉は鍵を使用せずに外から施錠する方法は存在しない。窓については外からはいかなる方法でも施錠する方法は存在しない。ついでに言おう。そなたは無能だ。
それじゃあせっかく思いついたのに、お前が隠れていたんなら全て説明がついたのに。
So
ト
it's
リックを
Goda?
打ち破れたと思ったっ
Was
て
I
の
right
に。
about him being an asshole? It's useless, it's useless, it's useless, it's all useless. For a second I thought I had it, it was all useless, damn it. I was so sure that I'd finally seen through her, that I'd seen how she distracted me with her clever red wordplay and fooled me. Just when I thought I'd found a light in the darkness, it disappeared. Just swallowed up by a red blood sea. Red. 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 No one is hiding, and there's no hidden door, no way to get past the door or the window, and they're locked. Have you just proven that's all impossible? Has the devil's proof been fulfilled? With a frontal attack? Impossible? That's impossible.
どうしたのだ後ろ宮バトラー。魔女を否定する気で満々だったじゃない。そんなところで這いつくばって悔し涙を絞り出してどうしたんだい。ああ、それはとっても素敵な方法。わらわを笑い転げさせて笑い涙の海で溺れ殺してやろうというのは確かに素敵。実はそうなんだろう。わらわを笑って笑って笑い殺してやろうって手なんだろう。後ろ宮バトラ
ー。何が魔法だ。魔女なんて絶対に否定してやる。お前なんて絶対に信じない。魔法の力でみんなを面白半分にいじめ殺してるなんて絶対に認めね
ー。なあバトラー、いじめすぎて悪かった。わらわ側からチェス盤をひっくり返してやるぞ。お前に代わってお前側の最善手を教えてやるよ。聞きたい？
ふざけんな。聞きたくねえ聞きたくねえ。
ジェシカの部屋の件、 そなたは実に良いところを隠れてやり過ごそうとした。これは実にいい着眼だった。だがなぜそれをカノンと19人目のわらわにしか考えなく。そうか、隠れてやり過ごすの、隠れてが邪魔だったから考えが至らん。ほーら、もうわかるだろう。ジェシカだよ、ジェシカ。
If Jessica were the culprit, a farce like this could easily be constructed. She killed Cannon-kun and carried him off somewhere. Then she played dead and let us walk by. But that's ridiculous. Dr. Nanjo definitely confirmed that she was dead, so is Dr. Nanjo an accomplice too? That's wrong. I also confirmed that Jessica was dead. Of course, I've never examined a corpse of her, but she was definitely dead. I think she was dead. No, that's probably sure definitely what I thought, but certainly wait. She was dead! She was dead.
ジェシカもグルなのよ。そして検視をした南條もグル。ならば第三の密室など茶番だろうが。
Yeah, then it's simple. Dr. Nanjo was in on it, so in other words, he's on the culprit's side, which means he was never dead in the first place. We thought his body disappeared after he was killed, but what if he was never in the serpent room to begin with? So if Kumasawa Ba-chan disappeared with him, doesn't that mean she's in on it too? That's not all. That's not all. The servants who all agreed to keep that story, Genji-san, Goda-san, even Shannon-chan were in on it too. Then the one who stole the key from Maria's handbag was Jessica. No, it could even have been George Aniki. After all, Shan-chan is on the culprit's side, and that automatically makes George Aniki on the culprit's side. Wait a second, just wait a second. They're all wolves. They're all wolves. Not only am I drowning in an ocean of bright red blood, there are packs of wolves clamoring on the backs, whose blazing eyes tell me that they'll eat me if I crawl out. Which way should I die? Should I deny everything and drown in a bright red sea? Or should I learn the truth and have my whole body chewed to bits by the wolves? It's either one hell or the other. I can't choose. Gah!
だからこそわらわがいる。さあ後ろ宮バトラー、膝そして永遠の忠誠を誓ってわらわの靴を舐めるがいい。わらわを認めれば全ての謎に決着がつく。わらわの力をもってすればどのような密室も生み出せ、そして打ち破れる。バトラー、力ある者に屈服する喜びに身を委ねたくはない。そなたはわらわの一番のお気に入りのそなたを愛して愛して灰になるまでわらわの玩具にしてやるよ。これではっきりしたわ。もう疑いようもない。
はと言いますと？
あなたたちが死んだという二人はここ。そしてベアトリーチェからの手紙があり、親切にも死体は持ち去った。そういうことよ。もう茶番は飽き飽きしたわ。
As Aunt Rosa yelled this, she looked at all of us with a fierce expression.
茶番ってどういう意味ですか？
私はジェシカちゃんの部屋で言ったわ。信用できるのは自分自身と死体となって見つかった者以外いないってね。そして死体が見つからない以上、あの二人が殺されたことを認めるわけにはいかない。
待ってください、ローザおばさん。それはどういう意味ですか？
南條先生と熊沢さんは死んでないわ。生きている。殺されたということにして、この屋敷のどこかに私たちを襲うためにね。
なんでそんなことがわかるんですか？ゴーダさんたちが嘘をついていると言うんですか？
ローザ様、このゴーダ、いえ、後ろ宮家使用人一同誓ってそのようなことはいたしません。
あなたたちは南條先生たちは殺されたという。でも死体がない以上それを信じるわけにはいかないわ。あなたたちが口裏を合わせてそういう嘘をついている可能性があるもの。あなたたちの無実を信じる方法はちゃんとあるわよ。南條先生と熊沢さんの遺体が見つかることよ。それが見つかったら私はあなたたちの話を聞いてみようという話にもなるわ。でも見つからない限りあなたたちは狼であることを否定できない。あんたも黄金に目がくらんであの魔女に買収されたんでしょ。そんなに金が欲しい？そうなんでしょう。一生遊んで暮らしたいの？そんな人生に何の価値があるのよ。
ローザ様、私たちはそんな。
黙りなさい。そしてシャノン、それ以上近づか10年も恩を受けながらそれを仇で返すなんて容赦なく引き金を引くわよ。
そんなのってひどすぎます。
ローザおばさん、それは暴言だ。この部屋で殺人が起こった。そして犯人が死体を持ち去った。彼女たちはそれを正直に申告しているだけだ。
Shanna had finally broken down in tears. She had sacrificed 10 years to the Ushiromiya family. She had sacrificed 10 of the most brilliant years of her life. She believed that she'd built up a friendly relationship with Rosa, and this is what she got in return. You can kill a person without using a knife. It didn't have to be George Aniki to realize that Shin-chan had been stabbed deep in the heart and that she was shedding tears like
シャノン
blood.
さん、下がって。ローザ様、確かにこのゴーダはお勤めして日も浅く信用を勝ち得ていないのは分かります。しかしせめてシャノンさんだけでも信じていただくわけ。彼女は10年間も後ろ宮家に奉仕を捧げてまいりました。このゴーダを信じろとは申します。せめてシャノンさんだけでも信じてやっていただくわけにはまいりませんか。
But even I don't understand anymore. I don't understand. We can't search for an answer without suspecting them. Yeah, bit by bit I'm starting to understand. It's because we've been searching an answer. That's why everything keeps going wrong. We don't need an answer. These are all strange murders committed with bizarre magic by the 19th person, the witch Beatrice, in accordance with some creepy ceremony. Isn't that enough? I don't want to suspect anyone anymore. Chan and Goda-san were protesting their innocence, half crying. Genji-san quietly put a stop to them.
よしなさい。ローザ様の言うことはもっと死体を見つけない限り、南條先生と
That's right.
熊沢の無実は証明できない。
You can't tell when he's talking or not. They kidnapped Dr. Nando and Kumasawa-san, killed them in another place, and locked the closed room with their own master keys. Unless the closed room could be broken by a method other than one, it would be impossible to prove their innocence, but that couldn't be done. They'd only have one chance to prove their innocence. It can only happen if they meet with the culprit, become corpses, and are reunited with Aunt Rosa. Isn't that strange? They're innocent if they die, but guilty as long as they're alive. Just like a witch trial. Alright, the enemy's a witch, so everything's cool, is that it?
ローザ様、私たちは後ろ宮家にお仕えする私どもを信用されるもたとえどのようなご評価をいただこうとも。
あなたは本当に使用人の鏡ね。お父様が心を許すのもよくわかるわ。
Genji-san stuck his hand into his pocket and pulled out a master key, then he set it on a nearby table.
私は信頼の証としてそれを失ったならこれをお返しするのは当然かと思います。
それはいい判断ね。今日何度もあなたたちが疑われてきた最大の根拠は、それを手放せば疑いが晴らせるのではないかというのは初歩的ではあるけれど、まあ悪いことじゃないと思うわ。
二人とも
Kenji-san looked at Goda-san and Shin. The two of them nodded and set their own master keys on the table. Aunt Rosa laid the 2 master keys that had come out of the envelope on top. With that, all 5 master keys were gathered in this place. In other words, this was proof that all the servants' service until today had been negated, with even the final hour they should have permitted stripped from them.
マリア、その手提げを貸しなさい。
Aunt Rosa snatched Maria's handbag, tossed the master keys in there, and held up one of them for all to see. She was showing us that she now had all the master keys.
これで満足かい。ローザおばさん、これでマスターキーはこれで満足なんだろう。
ええ、満足よ。たとえ全員が信用できなくても、私は私自身だけを信用することができる。その私が銃とマスターキーを独占できた。これで私はもう誰も疑わずに済む。あなたたちも嬉しいでしょ。これでもう疑われずに済む。
At that time, Maria, who alone seemed to be watching this as though it were a show, sneered at her mother. Aunt Rosa reacted nervously to that laugh and turned
鍵
around.
なんか関係ないよ。ベアトリーチェは魔法で扉を開けられる。鍵なんていらない。そんなもの誰が持っていたって持っていなくたって
その笑い方をやめなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。なーに、バトラ君。
I just cut in between the two of them. No, that's not it. I was on my knees and hugging Maria's head. I was crying.
もうよしてくれよ、マリアが。
Oh my god, he finally is accepting it.
何を言っているの。
マリア、疑って悪かった。信じなくて悪かった。
バトラ、
全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。魔女の死はトリックとかミスとかどうでもよかったんだ。ただベアトリーチェっていう魔女が実在して本当に魔女だっただけだ。それも俺は信じなかったからこんなにも苦しくて悲しくて。
バトラはベアトリーチェを信じてくれる？
ああ、信じる。ベアトリーチェはいるんだ。そして不思議な魔法を使う。
バトラ、
Maria let go of my hand and then she was the one
そ
holding
れ
my
でいいんだ
hand.
よ。バトラ、ベアトリーチェはいたの。バトラがなかなかそれを信じられなかったから魔女はいるの。いる。もうすぐ来る。バトラはベアトを信じてくれたからきっと黄金鏡へ招かれるよ。もうすぐだから。もう何も怖くない。怖くないよ。
Oh.
マリアと一緒にお手手をつないで一緒に非分の謎を考えよう。ベアトの問題を考えよう。ベアトは最初から言ってるよ。この問題を解いて遊ぼうとしか言ってないよ。
ああ、犯人探しなんて全くの時間の無駄だったんだ。俺たちはただ魔女を信じればよかったんだ。
Well, I did. After gently brushing my cheek as tears kept dripping down, Maria kissed my forehead, soft as a feather. For just that instant, Maria's smile, which had once seemed creepy to me, looked like that of an angel.
マスターキーはお返ししましたが、私どもの後ろ宮家への忠誠は100枚は以後お許しがない限り立ち入りません。どうかローザ様も客間を内側より施錠。
本当に殊勝な人ね。台風が過ぎ去ってこの島に再び私たちは再び互いを信頼し合えるのかしら。
もし再びの信頼を賜えるのでしたら、これに勝る喜び。
そうね。 私たちは必ず分かり合えるわ。海猫の鳴く頃に。
この部屋は警察が来るまでこのままにした方が良いでしょう。ローザ様、施錠をお願いいたします。私たちは厨房へ戻ります。何かございましたらいつでもご用命ください。
ありがとう。あなたが狼だったなら、なんてシャーシャーとのたまうのか。そしてあなたが羊だったなら、あなたを狼の檻に放り出して。ごめん。
家具は家に運命を委ねます。命を落とすことになろうとも、それはとても光栄なことです。
That's sad.
できることならば、あなたたちが台風が過ぎ去るまで元気でいることをね。これはすべて台風
It
が
doesn't
奏
have
でる
to
暴
listen
風
to
と降雨の
Kumasawa
競争
screaming.
曲。演奏が終われば幕が下り、私たちは再び手を取り合えるに違いない。海猫の鳴く頃に。
Aunt Rosa nodded in response. Genji-san turned on his heels. He left the servant room. Goda-san's face was still streaked with tears, but maybe he managed to sort out his feelings as he listened to Genji-san's words. His face had been truly shameful, but it had returned to the face of Goda-san we knew well.
私も何かございましたら
Blah blah.
いつでもご用。温かい食事をお
I hate
望
you,
みでしたら
Goda.
いつでもこの号だ。最高。
ありがとう。あなたには明日の朝食を頼みたいわ。明日の昼前には
Oh,
船も来
shut
る
up,
でしょう。
abusive
今ま
bitch.
でありがとう。六軒島で唯一の楽しみが。
かしこまりました。この号だ。
I don't.
最
I
高の
hate
朝食
Goda.
を
I
用意い
hate. I
たし
don't
ど
like
う
any
か
of these people.
明日の朝を楽しみにしてください。
ありがとう。シャノンちゃんも明日の朝に美味しいコーヒーを飲みながら中に。ジョージ君。
僕も彼らと一緒に行く。
いいんです。庄司様、どうか客間にもうマスターキーはだからローザ様とご一緒に客間にいれば誰にも脅かされません。
そうね、そういうことになってる。客間に私と一緒にいるのが客観的に考えて。でも無理に一緒にいるとジョージ君はジョージ君の安全だと思う。ジョージ君ももう大人だ。明日の朝までどこで誰と過ごそうと自由だ。
そうさ、僕は誰と夜を過ごすか決める。
兄貴。
バトラ君はローザおば、きっとそれが一番安全なんだ。客間の外はそれに比べたら安全ではないと思う。ならそんな場所にいる彼女を僕は一人にしておけない。
俺は決してシャノンちゃんや他の使用人を、いや誰も疑いたくないんだ。黄金、そんなのそんなので殺し合いなんてあるわ。
バトラ君の心が美しいことは僕が一番知っている。誰も君を責めない。誰も。
兄貴。
大丈夫。バトラはマリアが守る。マリアと一緒ならベアトリーチェでも手出しできない。だってマリアはちっちゃくても魔女だもの。
マリアちゃん、
Maria's so
バ
cute.
トラ君をよろしく。さあシャノン、行こう。
はい、ローザ様。それではご用命がございましたらいつでもお呼びつけください。
さっきはひどいことを。明日の朝まで許さなくてもいい。でも明日の朝になったら。
はい、ありがとうございます。
George, Aniki, and Shannon Chan left the servant room together. Now only Maria, Aunt Rosa, and I were left in this disgusting blood-stained room. Until Genji-san disappeared, until Goda-san disappeared, until they all disappeared, we stood there shocked. After their presence and their footsteps had completely disappeared, Aunt Rosa giggled as if she just remembered something pleasant. Oh god, she about to kill everyone?
何も信用できないわよ、家具どもが。
What the fuck? That one sentence. Choke.
なんでそんなことを言うんだよ。
マスターキーは5つで全部。そんなの誰が信じるの。どうせ複製の鍵があるに決まってるのよ。彼らが懐から鍵を出したくらいで信用なんかできるものか。
そりゃあねえぜ。その鍵を置いたってのはよ、単に鍵を手放したってだけじゃねえ。あんた彼らの今日までの苦労をその挙句としてその鍵を手放させたんだぜ。
I mean, I hate Rosa, but it's fair for everyone to gather all the keys together in a situation like this. But obviously she could have gone about that way differently, where they could do that without disgracing them.
その捨て台詞はなんだよ。ここまでしてみせてなおまだ信用できないってのかよ。マリだぜ。
This is cool music though.
マリだぜ、そんなのって。
悪魔の証明なのよ。マスターキーは全部で5つ。そんなこと証明不能なのよ。マスターキーが5つあることはここに置けば示せる。でも5つ以上存在しないことは証明できない。そんなことは悪魔か魔女にしか証明できないのよ。
もうやめてくれ、もうやめて。そしてローザおばさんに赤でマスターキーは5本頼むよ。5条だよ。悪魔にしか証明できないんだよ。魔女のお前なら証明できるんだよ。頼むからベアト、ここに現れてローザおばさんにマスターキーはそれで全部だから。もう
マスターキーは5本、マスターキーは5本しかない。わらわがいくら口にしてもどうやらわらわの存在を否定しているやつがまだいるから、後ろ宮バートラ。
認めるよ。お前はいるだから5章だよ。もうやめて。
言葉だけでは届かぬ。わらわの家具になると心からできるか。服を脱げ。着衣は貴様は今から家具になるんだよ。だからそしてひざまずけよ。できるか。できるんだよな。そうしたら現れてやるよ。赤でマスターキーは5本しかないってローザに言って。ああ、でも分かってる。それでもいいんだよ。靴を舐めてもいいか。すぐにそれを否定。その表情が見れるだ。ざまあねえ顔だよ。鏡で見てみる。裸になって靴を舐めてる。見えるかよ。後ろ宮バトラー。
I was like, that's so much time, but I was looking at the minute hand, not the hour hand.
信じられない。それが真相だというのかい。
はい、私たちは見たままのことをお話ししています。
George folded his arms and started mumbling again, and the kitchen was once again wrapped in a long silence.
ジョージ様がにわかには信じられない気持ちも何しろこの目で確かに見たはずの私ですら、あれが私は確かにそして取っ組み合いまでしたはずなんです。なのにあれが全部幻だったような気すらする。
なるほどね。あのローザおばさんに詳しく話せないわけだ。今の話を本当にしてたらもっと面倒なトラブルになっていただろうね。なるほど。源氏さんが随分冷静な対応をしていたのが分かりました。
私にそれを説明するだけの力があればよかったのですが。
George had not actually seen it, and even when he pressed to believe, he just couldn't imagine it. It was only natural, because even the people who had actually seen it had given up asking themselves what it was.
話を少し巻き戻すよ。シャノンはカノン君が偽物かもしれないと思った時、クモの巣を取ってきたと言ったね。どうしてそんなことを？
そうだ、それは私も思っていました。どうしてクモの巣だったんです？
前に熊沢さんに聞いたことがあるんです。大昔の六軒島には悪霊が住んでいて、
I was thinking about that, about the evil spirits that
クモの巣
came
を
out of the
恐れたっ
mirror.
て。それでクモの巣を魔除けと尊んで大切にしたという昔話があるんだそうです。それでそのとっさに私も少し混乱していたんだと思います。
そんな話が。熊沢はそういう昔話に詳しかったな。
クモは液中ですからね。確かにそういう信仰があってもおかしくないかもしれない。
きっとその悪霊の力をあの鳥居の祠が封じ込めてたんだと思います。そして霊境が割られたので、その力が蘇ってベアトリーチェ様を蘇らせる力となってしまったに違いないのです。私が、心の弱かった私があんな大それたことをしなければ。
シャノン、その話はもうしなくても大丈夫だよ。僕は君を責めたりなんかしない。
Since long ago, Shannon had often suggested there was some kind of occult cause for her meeting with George. After listening to her, George had grown to think that she was being a typical ghoul, typical ghoul, associating love with fate, chance, and miracles. He did think that smashing the spirit mirror offered the Torii shrine was taking it a bit far, but he laughed it off and forgiven her, thinking it was just a prank, and showed her how serious she was about her relationship with him. Just breaking a mirror in some musty shrine wouldn't have changed the fate of our meeting, and would have never caused any curse. Tried to cheer her up, saying it was only a musty mirror covered in dust.
ベアトリーチェ様という霊のような存在がいるという話は、最初はバカバカしいと思っていましたが、それを批判するとなんだか不謹慎そうな空気があったもので、私も表向きは信じているように振る舞っていきました。しかしまさか本当に。
いたんです。ベアトリーチェ様はずっと。でもベアトリーチェ様は力を失っておられて、ずっといた。私たちが見えなかっただけなんです。
源氏さんの意見を聞きたいです。
私には一つだけ申し上げたいのは、私たちはそしてカノンが勝手口から、そして使用人室に何かが起こって南條先生と熊沢が帰らぬ人と、それだけです。私たちは見たものをそれを見ていないジョージ様に信じろというのはとても無理。
信じられるわけがない。あれは間違いなく。でもあいつがベッドから起き上がって、そうこんな風にしながら胸の傷をまさぐり始めた時、こいつはカノンさんじゃない、誰か別の存在なんだ。ジョージ様にはわからないでしょう。よく知っていると思っていた人物が実は別人であることをさらけ出した瞬間の説明できない。とても説明できるわけがない。
わかるよ。ゴーダさんがそれほどまでにショックを受けるどんな恐ろしいことがあったのか。
ありがとうございます、ジョージ様。
And they all fell silent again. Shannon kept crying no matter how many times she was consoled, thinking that the witch's sweet whispers and breaking the spirit mirror on that day had been the mistake that ruined everything. Well, kinda was.
君に囁いたという魔女は、その鏡があると力を失うんだね。
少し説明してくれた気がしますが、 よく覚えていません。
Is the mirror the key or something?
あの鏡があると
And they're the two
力が
people
出せ
at
な
the
い
end of the Sweetfish
というよ
River
うな
because
ことを
they're
言
in
っ
love.
ていたと思います。
And that's the whole riddle. That would be interesting.
君が割ったというその鏡はどうしたの？
覚えていません。多分割ったまま立ち去りましたから、そのままそこに残ってたでしょう。
ということは、岩礁が雷で打たれて消えたとかいう時に海の底か。まあ拾って接着剤で貼り付けたところでご利益は戻らないだろうけどね。
私は本当になんてことを。
ごめん、失言したよ。
Yeah, what the fuck, George? You didn't know if Shannon breaking the mirror really had started all this off. That the servants didn't blame Shannon, they all seemed to believe that her actions had been the root cause. But even now, George wasn't able to go that far. All this talk about witches and evil spirits just sounded fake to him, even though he was trying to be open-minded. Even so, he listened seriously to Shannon's story, trying to find a hint that might relieve at least a little of the pain in her heart.
そういえばその鳥居にあったものとは違うでしょうが、奥様がお守りとして霊鏡をお持ちになっていると聞いたことがあります。
へえ、夏日おばさんが？
はい、おじい様の形見分けか何かでもらったものだそうで、とても強い魔除けの力を霊鏡だとかなんとか。
同じ話は私も聞いたことがある。鏡は良くないものを反射して弾き返す力があるのだとか。
その霊鏡があれば魔女のベアトリーチェに対抗できるかな？
When George proposed this, the servants looked up.
祀っていた鳥居と祠はもうないかもしれないけれど、霊鏡がもう一枚あるのは重要なことだよ。夏日おばさんの実家は神職にも通じていると聞いたことがある。それは本当に単なる鏡ではないかもしれない。
確か奥様は宝物箱に入れて大事にしまっている、そんなに大きいものではないのかもしれません。
大きさの問題ではなかったと。私が割った鏡も一見大したことのない小さな鏡に見えました。
相手がオカルトならこちらもオカルトの手段で対抗するしかない。ただこうして座っていても何も解決しない。単なる気休めだとしてもやってみる価値はあるよ。
Of course, this didn't mean George had accepted the witch. However, he thought it'd be necessary to have some kind of purification ceremony to heal the wounds in Shannon's heart, so the story about Natsuhi's spirit mirror was really
行
convenient.
こう。魔女をやっつけようなんて大それたことは言わないよ。でも魔女から身を守る魔除けがあってもいいと思う。前にマリアちゃんに聞いたんだけど、おじい様の部屋の扉は強力な魔除けが施されているんでしょ。さすがおじい様だね。オカルトに対する防御も十分だったわけだ。行こう、夏日おばさんの部屋へ。
しかし奥様マスターキーはローザ様にキーボックスのある使用人室も施錠されて。
ならばその鍵は礼拝堂にはまだ警察が来る前に勝手にいじってしまうのは悪いことだけれど。
しかし礼拝堂の入り口も
合田さんの腕力じゃガラス1枚割れないのかい？その辺の石で叩き割ればいい。
大切な礼拝堂の窓を破ってしまってもよろしいのでしょう。
おじい様に怒られるときは僕が責任を持つよ。僕はもともと今日後ろ宮家の全員と戦うつもり。君との婚約を許してもらうためにね。だから元よりその覚悟はガラスを割ろう。そして夏日おばさんの遺体から鍵を借りよう。
George's announcement that he'd take responsibility seemed to have given the servants a great deal of courage. Shannon and Goda looked at each other, then looked at George's face
オ
again.
カルトに詳しいおじい様だもの。夏日おばさんの霊鏡の力だってきっと理解。大丈夫。怒られたり。
奥様の鏡で 本当にベアトリーチェ様をもう一度封じることができるでしょうか。
わからない。
Well, you should be trying to steal the other spirits,
でも
not Beatrice.
試す価値はあると思う。なら行こう。表はどんどん暗くなっちゃうよ。急ごう。シャノンは懐中
Well, I
電
guess
灯を、
maybe you want to do that.
ゴーダさんはガラスを割れそうな道具を、源氏さんはすみません、傘の用意をお願いします。
はい。
The servants who had been rejected by Rosa gained a new master and started to move. George, who is normally calm and gentle, is now radiating dignity. Shannon checked the emergency flashlight just in case she changed the batteries. Smart girl. Godo is testing severely heavy-looking cooking tools. Normally, a highly praised chef like him wouldn't want to use them for something other than intended purpose, but now he was frantic to fulfill the orders of the one the one he has accepted as his master. After some worrying, he took a large, thick-peeling frying pan. Genji removed several umbrellas from the umbrella stand set in the corner near the kitchen door. He took 3 of them.
源氏さん、
私はご一緒ご用命の時に全員がいないようなことがあっては。
今のこの屋敷で一人でいることが。
私はいい。親方様からいつお呼び出しがあってもいいように
源氏様。
言ってジョージ様にお仕えするようくれぐれも粗相の業だ。手本となるよう。
は、お任せください。
必ずやお役目を果たします。
本当にいいんですね、源氏さん。
はい、私はもうこの年です。今日までの人生は全て親方さん、このような老いぼれがどうなろうと、私はどのような結果が出るのかを。
As Genji said that, he sat down. As though saying he didn't intend to discuss this anymore, his gaze fell to the chessboard that he played Nanjo on. When George saw this, he decided to leave Genji there.
行こう、みんな。今は少し風もおとなしいみたいだ。
When George took an umbrella and dashed down the hallway, Shannon and Goto chased after him, each holding a tool. After they flew out of the room, Genji quietly stretched his hand out to the side of the chessboard. He softly pulled something there towards himself, covering it with his palm. Sus. Sus. Genji killed his breathing even more than before as he did something flash gold. From inside an ice pail set on the counter, a small gold butterfly appeared softly and silently. It was almost as though it had seen George and the rest off and was trying to secretly chase after them. Oh, did it just kill him because he... Oh, but he tried to protect them. It happened in an instant. The elegant gold butterfly flapping its wings was pinned against the wall by the knife Genji threw. Oh, okay, there we go. Just like a big butterfly in a bug collection. After the gold butterfly beat its wings several times, looking like it was in pain, it accepted the fact it couldn't break free, it became fine gold powder and smoke, and disappeared as though it had melted into water. Genji still gazed down at the chessboard as though nothing had happened. Maybe he would think up a brilliant move very soon. But no matter what move he made, his opponent would not be able to respond for all eternity. Even though he knew that, Genji searched for a brilliant move. It may have been the perfect way to kill time during the short period before some fate would be given to him. He didn't know what result roulette would bring about, but that decision would be made very soon. No one could interfere with the tumbling roulette ball. The door of the parlor was not only locked, but blocked with a barricade. Oops. Blocked with a barricade made of sofas. Because of that, Aunt Rosa seemed to suspect that any suspicious person approaching would break through the window. Sitting on a one-person sofa, her back to the door, she continued holding onto the gun. I didn't know what was what anymore. And even though my body and mind were worn out, I played with Maria as she wanted. Maria had said it. Beatrice was testing us to see if we could solve the epitaph of the gold, so we had to try and figure out this riddle. I don't think they can solve it. I think it is the mirror with George and them. In the beginning, I was a little interested and tried to solve it, but I didn't have a clue of where to start with at this weird text. I didn't doubt there was some riddle hidden there, but I seriously doubted I'd be able to suddenly leap to an answer. In the middle part of the epitaph, there were the lines going from the 1st to the 10th twilight, telling us the journey to the Golden Land. On the first twilight, offer the 6 chosen by the key as sacrifices. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. It was obvious that this hinted at the first 6 murders that had already occurred in the chapel, and Jessica and Cannon Kuhn's murders. This was being followed. We still had to be prepared for 5 more people to be killed. Well, 3. Oh yeah. Hi Josh, how are you? So yeah, so what you, I don't know, oops. Not tips. So yeah, Kumasawa and the Nanjo got killed by, okay, so you know how Cannon and Jessica died together because they're lovers, love it, cute. And then suddenly all the servants were together washing dishes and Cannon showed up, right? Which is like, he's dead, how is he there? And he was like bleeding or whatever. And then he like had these red eyes and like tried to, oh, he tried to say it was Aunt Rosa who did it and Aunt Rosa killed Jessica. And then he killed Kumasawa and Dr. Nanjo because people weren't going with his Aunt Rosa theory. And then, but he was eventually stopped. And then when they went to go tell everyone, Aunt Rosa was freaking out, but then when they went back, the bodies were gone. And so now all the servants are like split off with George, because George was with Shannon. And they were talking and they're like, oh yeah, Aunt Natsuhi used to have a mirror, like the mirror that Shannon broke at the beginning of the game that let out evil spirits, supposedly. So they're going to the chapel to look for that mirror. And right before that, or as they're leaving, Genji stayed behind because he was like, what if the master comes and calls on me? He stayed behind, and then there was a gold butterfly who he attacked. So, and Battler has totally given up and has accepted that Beatrice is a witch too. So that's where we're at right now. And they're trying to solve the epitaph. I think the epitaph is that the key is the mirror. And the thing about the Sweetfish River to the 2, I think the Sweetwater River is talking about the love path between Shannon and George, because at the beginning of the game, Shannon broke a mirror to make a deal with Beatrice. She broke the mirror because it was interfering with Beatrice's powers, but the mirror also let out evil spirits. But she did that so that she could get the charm to be in love with George. So I think breaking the mirror is the key or something. I could be wrong. That's what I think the epitaph is about, but I could be wrong. So now we're talking about the epitaph. Yeah, it was a lot. I know that was like a lot. On the 4th twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the 5th twilight, gouge the chest and kill. On the 6th twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the 7th twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the 8th twilight, gouge the leg and kill. Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa Bachan's corpses still haven't been found. However, if this follows the pattern and they're the sacrifices for the 4th and 5th twilights, they'll surely be found in a pitiful state, with their head and chest gouged. So, can we expect that 3 more of us will be gouged in the stomach, knee, leg, and killed? Who will it be? I looked around the room noticing that there were 3 people here, but How should I put it? My emotions seemed paralyzed. Strangely, I didn't feel frightened. As I leaned against the sofa with the top part of my... Oh, and Maria was being really nice to him because he believed finally and was like, don't worry, I'll protect you. It was really cute. Maria noticed. Apparently she felt I was slacking off in my riddle solving. She got mad at me for not taking this seriously enough.
なあマリア。ベアトリーチェは確かこれを解いたらどうするって言ってたんだっけ。
I'm sure the witch wrote in her letter that she'd give up on collecting interest or something abstract like that. I optimistically took that to mean she'd give up on killing the whole family, but was it really written with that meaning? For some reason I couldn't convince myself that solving the riddle would really save me. I felt like maybe even if we do solve it, we'll just be doing what the culprit wants and it'll all be a wasted effort.
そんなことはない。この碑文が解けたら、ベアとの儀式は、だからもうそれ以上、誰もし。
そういうルールを奴がこの謎を解けば、多分奴はきっとそれを狙って。
狙わないよ。
なんでそう断言できるんだよ。
黄金は最初からベアとのものだもん。自分のものを狙ったりなんかしない。
じゃあどうしてベアトは俺たちにこんな大ヒントをというか、どうしてこんなゲームじみたこと。
魔法にはリスクが必要なの。
Oh, she's trying to revive herself probably. Or untrap herself from the island that Kinzo trapped her.
例えばマラソン。完走すれば誰でももらえるメダルと、一番になった人しかもらえないメダルって同じ価値だと
思わねえぜ。つまりなんだよ。結局わざとこっちにチャンスを与えるようなことをし。
違う。それがね、魔法とどんな大きな魔法にも絶対にリスクや弱点があるの。ないといけないの。
魔法って言われるとピンとこねえが、ギャンブルだって考えれば少しは理解できるな。でかく失う覚悟がなきゃでかくは勝てない。そして勝ち目の薄いギャンブルであればあるほどはいと。
その通りだよ。だからベアとは儀式のリスクをちゃんとみんなに説明。だからこの謎を解けばちゃんと儀式は中断される。だってそれを約束違反したらリスクにならない。
これを解けば奴は本当に約束。
花は枯れるのにどうして美しいの？造花は見分けがつかないほど成功でもどうして美しくないの？人間は死を賭すから奇跡が起こせる。不死の人間がいたとしてその人物に何の奇跡も起こせる道理は、私たちも人生も魔女も儀式も、私たちはリスクを負わなければ何も成し遂げられないの。
謎が解けたらどうするんだ。ピンポーンって鳴らして挙手して回答を魔女に伝えて答え合わせをするのか。
それは知らない。でも解けばきっと自動的に儀式は終わる。
マリアは詳しいな。そいつはみんなベア。
So if you don't bear a risk, nothing can be gained, is that it? That definitely is the way of the world, but it's sort of in conflict with the chessboard thinking I like so much. At least when making moves in chess, the players grope, what the heck, for the best move, always trying to avoid risk and hoping for an advantageous turn of events. They don't trust to chance like in gambling. That's right, there's no room for gambling in an intellectual game, and yet this person called Beatrice has created such an outrageous crime, or maybe a ceremony, while purposefully imposing conditions for her own loss and announcing them to us. In chess, you always play your best move, so by putting yourself in your opponent's position, you can predict their next move. However, we can't be sure that Beatrice's moves are always the best moves possible. I thought she was probably making us focus on the epitaph to fool us in some way, speaking in riddles, but in accordance to Maria, that alone was possible. She said this was a genuine risk that the witch had taken, and therefore proof that this was a formal ceremony for magic. I can't understand this witch called Beatrice. If she's committing this chain of murders, with some goal in mind, why did she go to all the trouble of exposing the conditions for her defeat? No matter how I spin the chessboard around and think from my opponent's perspective, I can't understand why she'd give up if this riddle is solved. It's already explained she needs to take a risk for magic. Isn't it almost as though Beatrice doesn't care whether she wins or loses? Of course, chessboard reasoning won't work against an opponent like that. I don't understand. What is Beatrice after that's making her carry out this crime? If she just wanted to massacre us all, she could have done it quietly without this whole crazy setup. There was no need for that kind-hearted advance notice, all the self-aware closed room stuff, or any of the rest. It's all overacting. I've got no clue what it means. Will I be unable to understand everything as long as I keep thinking of Beatrice as a greedy human culprit? If I don't accept her as a witch, will my chessboard thinking be stuck before I've even lined up the pieces? If she really is a witch and everything Maria said is true, then there's only one thing for us to do. The theory building in discord and searching for the culprit has been pointless. We should have gathered all in the dining room, combining our knowledge to solve the riddle. By combining the knowledge of that many people, we might have been able to grasp at least a thread of the answer. It's true, if they were talking to George and all of them, they probably could have guessed that. The greedy humans, each desiring to gain something over their opponents, were getting offered up as sacrifices one by one, without gathering their knowledge together. In the end, did the humans get what they deserved? They thought they were using their brains, but they were actually thinking only of their greedy selves. In the end, chessboard theory is a thinking technique where you project yourself onto your opponent. So greedy people see their greedy selves inside their opponents. I looked lazily at Aunt Rosa. She was probably tired from being under all this tension the whole time. She couldn't sleep, but she kept staring vaguely some point off in the space. Aunt Rosa had announced that we couldn't trust anyone who hadn't been killed. Aunt Rosa's chessboard thinking saw herself inside the opponent. Whoa. In other words, maybe Aunt Rosa was an isolated woman, unable to trust anyone and unable to let her guard down. Long ago, I think I heard a bit about it from my dad. Aunt Rosa was a very obedient child, but her age was far too separated from the other siblings, and they often made conflicting demands of her during their confrontation. Thanks to this, she'd undergone a lot of psychologically harsh experiences in her youth. Often when she copied one of her siblings, another sibling would give her a hard time. True, Aunt Rosa said many things today that could be taken as abusive, because she is abusive. But that means those words were once showered upon her, which is why they were engraved in her vocabulary. The many abusive words that she'd spoken were also words she'd been showered with in the past. Now that I think about it, I've had the feeling that her style of speech sometimes has traces of Aunt Ava and Uncle Kraus in it. I'd understood it as them just being similar because they were siblings, but maybe it wasn't just that. For the first time, I truly sympathized with Aunt Rosa, I'd always assumed was just gentle and quiet. Then what about Maria? Maria's been making a certain claim for a while now. If we can solve the riddle the witch displayed to us, the ceremony will be halted and will definitely be saved. And I think she also said that Beatrice will never break a promise, but this is Maria we're talking about. She herself never breaks promises, and she has the most innocent heart, so she believes Beatrice also won't break her promises. She's able to believe that. But isn't that just an image? Generational trauma, for real. And then she just fucking beats the shit out of her kid. That's crazy. But isn't that just an image of Beatrice in Maria's mind? There's no proof that the real Beatrice always keeps her promises, right?
わらわは約束は気分の謎を解けば黄金鏡へ至ることができるだろう。さすれば儀式は終わる。それ以上誰も死にはせぬ。
お前みたいな下道の極みが。
わらわが残忍で卑劣で下道であることを否定はだが、わらわは魔女だ。魔法を使う。魔法を使うには守らねばならぬルールがある。わらわは魔女だからこそそれをないがしろにできぬのだ。それだけは信じるがよい。
これだけめちゃくちゃやってきて、それでもルールだけは信じろってのかよ。
わらわはたぶらかしはする。もちろん人も騙す。人間と変わらぬ。だが約束として口にしたことを保護にした人間はどうか。約束を必ず守るのか。
約束を守ろうなんてキャッチフレーズがある以上、ちゃんと履行されてるかどうかは疑わしいな。
わらわから見れば人間の方がよっぽど利己的で下
She
道な
looks
存
like an
在
injured
よ。
little kid with that
人間
face.
の約束ほど疑わしいものはない。
Look, she's like pouting. That's what I was thinking of.
わらわも時に人間と契約するが、くだらない願い一つ叶えるのにどれほど厳重に取り決めをするか想像もつくまい。少しでも隙があると連中はすぐに叶える願いの数を100に増やせとか、小さな豆粒。
親父によく言われたぜ。契約書ほど怖えもんはねえって。よく読まずにハンコを押すやつは骨の髄まで喋られてと悪徳で荒稼ぎしてやがったんだな。
察しろ。人は生まれながらに詐欺を知りはせぬ。どこかで被った。だから覚えた。押し付け合わずにはいられぬ人の世の罪。はて、どこの魔女に聞いたやら。まあいい。そなたが思っているほど。
嘘をつく。これだけの大勢をこんな残酷な方法で殺しておいて何が無慈悲ではないだ。約束は守るだといい加減なことを言うな。俺はお前を認めない。断じて
I thought you did already.
それを譲らないことだけがお前への抵抗だと俺は信じてる。
なるほど。永遠の苛波であるのはわらわに対しても同じであるというわけかもしれぬな。1000年は長い。魔女の強さは魔力より我慢強さで決まるのかもしれんな。なるほど。ベルン教の恐ろしさもうなずける。
何をわけのわかんねえ話をブツブツ言ってやがる。さっさと永遠の苛波とやらを続けろよ。俺は1000年でも1万年でも付き合う覚悟だぜ。
よいよい。少しは戦う気力も戻ってきたようだな。
You were talking about Rika just a second
そ
ago.
うでなければ
That's
つまら
funny.
ない。ほら、対戦ゲームでもよくあるだろう。乱入したけど相手があまりに弱くて拍子抜けでわざと負けて最終ラウンドまで延長させて最後に本気でフルボッコにすることとかってあるだろ。
例えの意味がわかんねえよ。
ワインと同じよ。よく熟成させねば輝かぬ。お前はそれに耐えられるワインだ。わらわがじっくり熟成させてや。そなたをわらわの優雅な時間を彩る最高の美酒に育て上げてやるぞ。だからこの程度で屈服などするな。わらわを引き続き否定してくれよ。何しろわらわはそなたが認めぬ限り儚き幻想に過ぎぬのだから。
Well, that's that sound of them busting open the chapel.
辛いな。
教中お察しします。シャノンさん、鍵を頼みます。お亡くなりになられたとはいえ、私には触れることができません。
はい。
Shannon nodded sharply, her expression filled with a sense of duty. George, Goda, and Shannon had broken a suitable window and were inside the chapel. They busted in. Since they really hadn't wanted to break one, they'd searched for another way in just in case. But in the end, after proving once again that there was nowhere they could slip in through, it only became more obvious that this chapel was a mysterious closed room. Inside the chapel, time had stopped ever since the last time they'd left it. Even George wasn't able to approach that gruesome Halloween party again. It was only natural. It reminded him again of the sadness of losing both parents at once. And Goda, thinking of the possibility that those corpses might have changed in some horrible way, now that a day had passed, didn't want George to get near them. Shannon followed Goda's instructions and approached the party table. Normally, Shannon might have resented having another dirty job forced on her, but now she could truly understand Goda's mental state. Even though Goda had prodigious skill, he'd gotten dragged into trouble, losing his job, and ended up left out in the streets before Natsuhi gave him a new life. Though it had been just a casual employment decision for Natsuhi, Goda must have thought it a turning point in his fate. Those around Goda could see that he felt a special kind of loyalty to Natsuhi, so he probably didn't want to lose that feeling even after her death. Pumpkins. Now that half a day had passed, the bodies of Natsuhi and the rest had changed completely. Small bugs sniffing out the smell of death had started to gather, but it really wasn't something you'd want to look at directly.
奥様、失礼いたします。
Because of her long experience as a servant, Shannon had an idea of which pocket Natsuhi kept the key to her room in. It would probably be this pocket. Her guess didn't fail her. Just by touching the outside of the pocket, she was immediately able to feel it.
ありました。奥様の部屋の鍵です。
Shannon held up the key high, showing the others it had been found, and George and Goda watched her, their eyes open wide. Wasn't the expression Shannon was expecting, so it startled her. Uh-oh. After all, Shannon hadn't noticed. George and Goda, watching from afar, noticed it first. After all, when Shannon had held the key up high, a blizzard of gold leaf had seeped up from around the table. They were countless gold butterflies. It was the first time George had seen them, so it might have looked like some kind of illusion, but Goda already knew. He knew that those gold butterflies were far from beautiful, and they would bring about some kind of misfortune. And that gold swelled, trying to suck Shannon in.
シャノンさん、走って。
Shannon also realized that the gold butterflies were trying to swallow her. She ran unsteadily, her expression still shocked. As she did, the gold butterflies danced around her all at once. They grouped together. They tried to swallow her up. George, you can do anything? Yeah, like what the fuck?
なんだこれは。これが君たちの言っていた黄金の蝶なのか。
早く外へ。くそくそ。
George and Goda rushed up to Shannon, driving off the cloud of butterflies, and while the butterflies were scattered, they ran towards the broken window. However, they needed a good footing to get out the window, which was surrounded by shards of broken glass. When they'd entered, they'd been enough time to prepare for that, but now there was none.
扉から出よう。足場を探してる時間なんかない。
開かない。硬い。
貸して。くそ。この。
ジョージ様、くそ、なめるな。
Goda took off his jacket, swinging it around, scattering the group of butterflies, but saying he was outnumbered would be a real understatement. It was doubtful that even It even bought them a short amount of time. George struggled with the broken handle. Age showed it didn't turn well. It can't leave it to strength. It needs the right angle or there's some trick to it.
ジョージ様くそーこの化け物どもが
At that moment, Goda saw it. He was seen by it. In other words, their eyes met. On top of the party table, no. With the stained glass behind it, floating laughing was the figure of the witch. He saw the figure of the laughing witch in the center of the golden whirlwind, and the golden butterflies fluttering about it at the ready.
ベアトリーチェ
It should have been Goda's first meeting with her, but he knew her at a glance. Just like the other servants had said, this was certainly the witch of the portrait herself.
そろそろ晩餐の時間ではないか。すでにわらわはこの屋敷のホストである。そなたらを素晴らしきディナーで歓待しなくてはならぬというもの。
I wonder if she killed Kinzo.
おあつらえ向きに3人ではないか。これは実に好都合。
あ、開いた。
ゴーダさん早くベアトリーチェ様
あ、
足を止めてもよいのか。ここがそなたらの墓場にふさわしいというならかつての主の傍らにて死後も仕えたいというその心意気はたたえようぞ。
The gold whirlwind that wrapped around the witch burst. It was like an evil hand had literally spread its fingers and was trying to attack them. The cloud of gold butterflies attacked with a fluttering sound.
急ぐんだ。足を止めちゃいけない。
George's voice brought Shan and Goda back to their senses. Standing here now would make them like frogs getting stared down by a snake. They had to resist. They had to fight this incarnation of the new, brutal, and frightening order which Rokenjima had been enveloped. There was no time to take out their umbrellas. The three of them dashed out into the pouring rain. The three of them never realized because they didn't turn around, but the gold butterflies apparently couldn't handle rain too well, and this hampered their ability to chase after the humans. Three people ran from the golden pursuers and flew into the mansion.
愉快こうでなくては面白くない。
They unlocked the door and dashed into the room. A bit of the scent from Natsuhi's favorite gentle incense remained in there. However, there was no time to let that calm them now.
どこにあるんだ。宝物箱の中って言ったっけ。
話に聞いた。実際にどこにあるかまでは
多分お化粧台かベッドの脇にあるんじゃないかと思います。
Shannon's womanly sensibilities led her to conclude that, but next to the bed there's only an incense burner, a half-read novel, and glasses. However, the dresser was elegant, had many drawers, and it would be understandable if she kept some of her valuables there. What about that thing?
夏日おばさん、ごめん。
He began to violently open each one of the drawers. He had to hurry. He couldn't actually hear footsteps, but he had the feeling that the witch was approaching. He had the feeling that her laugh was approaching. He emptied the drawers one by one and examined their contents. Every small box for makeup looked like a treasure box. And the amount of effort it would take to inspect all of them made him feel a little dizzy.
鍵がかかってて開きません。
At a glance, it looked like a slightly larger than the musical box. When shaken or rusted, as though various small objects were inside. But it was locked and didn't open.
普通あるいは常に身につけている人もいるかも。わからないわからない。
やむを得ない。壊そう。でも乱暴にはできないね。中の鍵こじ開ける道具はないから。そう。
Goda looked all over the room trying to see if there was some tool they could use, and he noticed the door should have been left open ever since they entered. He pressed the door and closed and saw the indomitable shadows of people approaching beyond the darkness in the hall. No, it wasn't shadows of people because they weren't human at all.
ジョージ様、急いで。
Goda's voice trailed off. It was the shock of seeing a procession of those not of this world. He was a servant, so he knew all the servants working for the Ushiromiya family, but he didn't know about these. However, these were definitely servants, and not servants working for Kinzo or Kraus. Eep! These new servants who worked for the new master of the mansion, the Golden Witch Beatrice, had goat heads and bright red boiled eyes of lava. As the new master laughed loudly and trimly directed 6 of the new servants, he saw them approach, piercing the darkness as they came. Of course, she was clad in the gold butterflies that were her symbol. Goda hurriedly closed the door and locked it. However, just as he locked it, it returned to normal, just as though a spring or something had knocked it back. They big, alright. It gave the illusion that some pranksters beyond the door was unlocking it every time he locked it. They couldn't have reached the other side of the door yet, so who's doing it and how? It almost felt like playing with a broken toy. Click, boing.
閉めてもどうなってんだこりゃ。クソクソクソクソ。
鍵がわらわを拒むと思うか。その部屋の新しき主を、その部屋の扉が拒むと思うのか。
It was like the witch could see Goda's frantic effort through the door. Even now the footsteps continued to approach. And when not just the footsteps, even their breath could be heard, Goda gave up on the lock and slammed into the door, locking it using his own bonder.
ジョージ様、早く早く早く。
ジョージ様、これはどうでしょう。
レターオープナーか。そっちの方がいいね。万年筆じゃうまくいかない。
Door shook and once again down into the crack under the lid of the treasure box. It looks like it's working.
早く早く。
The pressure from across the door grew even stronger. Goda screamed. This wasn't a war cry to chest of strength. He was terrified. He was simply terrified that nothing but a simple wooden door was stopping him from touching something not of this world. But he was still lucky. He wasn't touching the things directly, because they were on the other side of the door. So if he were to touch them directly, Goda's cry would surely turn from something brave into a pathetic, piercing scream, and therefore one that was more real. Goda couldn't believe what was happening right before his eyes. Coming through the door, an arm was slipping straight through the wood like it was water, as though doing this was the most natural thing in the world, and it rubbed the back of Goda's hand as he frantically tried to hold the door shut. It slid up his arm into his chest and then up to his chin. Now Goda's scream wasn't even audible anymore. He could see a sweet whispering voice from across the door. It wasn't coming from the witch, but it sounded like a young woman. However, that didn't change the fact that it came from someone not of this world.
かわいい。ねえ、見てるの走馬灯。教えてね。終わったら。ありがとう。もう終わってるのね。
Well, Goda died. The lewd arm burst, and they heard the sound of something jumping around the room at incredible speed. They didn't know what it was. Incredibly fast, small like steel, or maybe a beetle. When it buried itself right in the center of Goda's chest and stopped, they realized for the first time that its true form was something like a stake with a strange design on it. Goda's large body shook, bent backwards, and fell over. As it did, the door opened softly, even though no one was pushing it. Welcoming in the new master of this room, it looked almost as though the door itself had accepted her. The goat attendants came in one after another, 6 of them. Then that witch came in, the gold butterflies came in, the room was wrapped in a blizzard of gold leaf, which fell and piled up, turning it more and more into a world of gold.
シャノン、ルーレットはそなたとジョージを選んだ。解放の日に感謝せよ。未練はあるまい？ないよな。惚れた男から婚約指輪をもらって を共にしないうちに殺されてしまっても未練なんかないよな。女の幸せを教えてもらいたかったんだろう。ああ、シャーノン、ダメダメ、垂れてるぜ。ダラダラ垂れてんのが見えるぜ、シャーノン。
Crack. It was the sound of the lid to the treasure box breaking open. When George turned it over, accessories, charms, various small objects that Natsu's treasure when she was a girl fell out. Mixed in with that was a pouch that stood out from the rest. He picked it up and was immediately sure this was it.
見つけた。これだ。
いいって及ばなかったの。死ね。
くそ。
At once, the gold butterflies attacked George, who was hurriedly trying to remove the contents of the pouch. At that time, a bright red flash seemed to light up the room for an instant. The red flash seemed to cut a hole, and the cloud of gold butterflies raging around the room, drawing a circle with Shannon at the center. So the resulting scene looked truly divine, almost as though a single streak of light had cut through the clouds of this world of gold. George, who was curled in a ball like a useless idiot, trying to protect himself from the group of butterflies, didn't have a clue what was going on. Oh my god. He looks so cool. Then he noticed Shannon was standing guard in front of him, shielding him, as she glared at the witch and the rest with a serious face she'd never shown him before.
忘れていた。そなたもまた金蔵の優れた家具だったな。それもカノンよりだいぶ熟成した。
カノン君をよくも殺したことじゃない。よくも亡骸を消し去り、その名誉まで汚そうとしたな。
おやおや、シャーノン、それを怒ってるのか。カノンに会えなくて寂しいならわらわに頼めよ。いつだって会わせてやるというのに。
When the witch snapped her fingers, one of the 6 goats attendant glittered gold and changed into cannon. It was definitely a sight to make one doubt their eyes. It was definitely Cannon's face. However, in those eyes, the glint of Cannon's integrity was nowhere to be seen. They were hazy eyes of furniture that only obeyed the orders of the witch. George couldn't understand the scene right before his eyes, and he finally understood why Goda and the rest had been unable to talk about what they'd seen in the servant room.
楽しいですか？
ああ、楽しいぞ。死が引き裂いた二人を再会させるのはいつだって死で引き裂いて一度、合わせて二度、もう一度引き裂いて三度楽しめるのだからな。さあ、カノン、姉と遊んでやりなさい。もし痛めつけられたら思いっきり苦悶の表情を浮かべてやるといい。
From the imposter Cannon's arm, a strangely shining curve extended. He planned to tear Shannon apart with that. With a single stroke, he would attack Shannon, who still hadn't prepared her heart, and...
許さない。一度ならず二度までも死者を汚すなんて許せ。
ほざくな。弟に殺されろよ、シャーノン。
Can George do anything at the mirror?
いい
Like...
夢が見られるぜ。
Imposter Cannon certainly seemed to lunge at Shannon, drawing several purple curves, but when he flew at her, it was as though some sort of invisible wall had been placed in front of her. The wall repelled the imposter, leaving a bright red ripple on its surface. No, it didn't repel him, it smashed him. It knocked him back, turning into golden dust into little bits, scattering him. Get the mirror out finally? That foolish furniture who had taken Canon's form and even disgraced his honor after death, broke into countless golden butterflies. And those butterflies themselves broke into pieces. And those pieces were broken into pieces until they were no longer butterflies, but a golden splash, and then faded away. No, George didn't do anything. He's
ジョージさんはそこから動かないでください。中心軸をずらしたくない。
これは驚いた。虫一匹殺せない面をしてこれだけの力を見せたか。なるほど。霊境がそなたに力を貸しているというのか。しかしその霊境の本当の力を引き出すには準備も時間も足り、そのどちらもわらわは与えはせぬ。
The spirit mirror George gripped had let out a divine glow, displaying a strength powerful enough not to submit to wicked foes. But that glow was no match for the witch's sinister nature. Sinister.
これだから家具は怖い。予期せずしてタンスの角にぶつける足の小指のような気持ちよ。これだから家具は怖い。家具が。家具。
私は家具じゃない。そしてあなたを今はとても哀れに思う。
何？ほう。1000年の魔女に100年も至らぬ家具が今何と言ったか。
あなたはとても哀れな人。愛し合う二人に未練がないわけがない。でもあなたの期待するような未練はかけらほども。
語るか。家具の分際でジョージと結ばれたくてわらわの靴を舐めた日々を忘れてわらわにそれを語るか。
愛に生き泥濘を這うが人間。それを嘲笑い見下しているつもりであなたはそれにはるかに劣る。私は今こそあなたを哀れに思う。愛し合う二人にとって添い遂げることにどれほどの意味が。意味はある。きっとある。でもそれはあなたの言うこととは全然違う。
I got big ass tits.
もっと新鮮にしてあなたごとき邪悪が口にする資格もないほどの新鮮な意味が。だから私にはすでに何の未練もない。ジョージさんと愛を誓い合った。その証として指輪を受け取った。それで永遠の誓いは完了した。あなたがどんな邪悪な魔法や悪意で私たちを災難だとしても永遠は汚さない。
綺麗事を詩人のように語るな。愛は情欲なんだよ。少女漫画みたく綺麗事ばっかりで男どもはお前の匂いに惹かれて群がるウジバエどもなんだよ。そんなこともその年でまだ理解できねえのかよ。お前は失望するぜ。その後ろのメガネ男のどす黒い欲望。がっかり愕然呆然呆然。全然ダメだぜ。
I think Beatrice got raped. The dark lust. I think she got, or she was in love with someone, but he like only wanted her for her body or something. She's projecting really hard. Something happened to her.
もういいや、語るな家具が。この家具。何様のつもりだよ、語りやがって。愛なんて結局はど汚ねえ汚物をどう綺麗に見せようかって欺瞞なんだよ。そいつに気づいて人は大人になるんだろう。死ねよクズ。家具スクラップ。お前を汚らわしいウジ虫に変えてやるよ。それでもそのメガネがお前を愛するそいつの愛のど汚ねえ現実ってやつを教えてやるよ。
Yeah, clearly this happened to
死ねえ
her.
よガラクタがてめえが愛を語るんじゃねえ
The invisible column of light with Shannon at the center started to have bright red ripples drawn all over it at once. The wall did its best to withstand the unseeable malice that tried to corrode in on them from all directions.
なんだよそれは抵抗してるつもりかよ安っぽいんだよ薄っぺらいんだよお前の綺麗事と同じなんだよ見せかけだけの薄っぺら見たくないものをベールで覆って隠してるだけなんだよまだわかんないのかよだから家具なんだよ家具ほらほらほらほらほら削られてるぜカリカリコリコリガリガリゴリゴリなんて薄くて情けないんだよお前のその薄っぺらな抵抗に比べたらパルミジャーノレッジアーノの方が
Parmesan
削るのに苦労がいるぜ
The golden windstorm that covered the room gradually began to shave the walls off the column that protected them. The bright red ripples frantically drew a resisting pattern, but that just turned into a red wall of despair that began to wrap the two of them up.
庄司さん、ごめんなさい。やはり私には無理でした。
ありがとう。君は僕のために戦ってくれた。それだけで嬉しいよ。
The round wall that had once protected them was assaulted and covered with a curve of bright red ripples that seemed to scream, and it began to suck the two of them up instead. Shannon grasped George's hand behind her, so George hugged her shoulders just as strongly.
なんだい
最後に愛してるって聞かせ
ああ、さよう。僕は君を永遠に。
Yeah, she was not happy about that. After Genji finished his late meal, he went out to do the nighttime rounds inside the mansion. He'd eaten some reheated soup that Goda had made, along with some random leftovers from the refrigerator. Those were all the things Goda had made himself and were, of course, delicious. He had half-heartedly gone to ask Rose and the others what they would do for dinner, but he'd been yelled at by a voice telling him that the canned food they had would be enough, and that the door wasn't even open for him. So ironically, the servant Genji was able to eat a more delicious meal. But why was it that Genji wasn't afraid to do the rounds all by himself, even though all those crimes had been committed and many people had already met a brutal end? Judging by his appearance, as he carried out his usual tasks without a trace of fear, as though everything was normal, you might think all of the horrible events that day had been no more than a dream or an illusion. Was he taking a philosophic view, or had he just accepted his fate? Genji must have considered it a virtue that, when the fate that awaited him was unavoidable, he carried out his duties systematically until the very last moment. The depths of his heart would probably remain hidden for all eternity, unless he spoke them himself. He had returned to his master key to Rosa, so the places he could reach were extremely limited. All he could do was walk around the hallways, checking to make sure all the windows were closed. That probably made his rounds go a lot faster than usual. At the sound of a reserved knock, Aunt Rosa, who'd been falling into a doze, jumped and woke up, pointing the barrel of the gun at the door. She yelled.
誰なの？
I was napping on a sofa, and that voice also brought me back to
ローザ様
reality.
源氏でございます。
何か用なの？扉は開けなくて結構よ。そのままで話して。
それではこのままで失礼させ、南條先生と熊沢の遺体を見つけました。
なんだって。
そう。わかったわ。確認に行きましょう。死体を見ない限り、私は誰も信じない。
大丈夫だよバトラー。マリアといれば絶対に大丈夫。
Maybe my face seemed to be darkened with anxiety. Maria grasped my hand with her small hand and spoke softly, trying to give me courage. Since it was Aunt Rosa's job to ready the gun and stand guard, it fell to me to remove the barricade of sofas. When I finished, it took a backwards glance at Aunt Rosa, who was pointing the barrel of the gun over my shoulder, and opened the door.
ケンジさん、二人の死体はどこに？
中庭です。ご案内いたします。
バトラ君待って。念のため部屋の戸締まりを確認していくわ。ちょっと待ってね。
Aunt Rosa called me to a halt to prevent me from going on ahead and began carefully to check the locks on each of the windows, but those locks had already been checked once. It felt kind of unpleasant, as though she suspected that I might have secretly unlocked them when she wasn't looking. No, maybe Aunt Rosa was right to be this cautious. Though it was called a courtyard, it wasn't really a pretty place you could take a walk in like the Rose Garden. On the contrary, since it was surrounded by the mansion on all sides, it made you feel a little uncomfortable. So it was telling you that there would be no escape from this mansion no matter where you tried to run. On the other hand, that meant even though we could still hear the violent winds, the wind itself was blocked. Genji-san held out an umbrella, but Aunt Rosa ignored him. She was probably hinting that the gun took two hands, and it would be dangerous if she took the umbrella. We didn't need Genji-san pointing for us to notice. Right in the center of the courtyard, we could see where Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san lay. Aunt Rosa entered the courtyard without even opening an umbrella, so Genji and I also entered the courtyard. Only Maria opened hers. Oh, that's because, she was told to.
これはあれだな。
By Beatrice.
おお、第7の番と第8の番だね。
なるほど。確かに源氏さんたちが言っていたように、二人の首にはひどい傷があるわね。すごく鋭利な。まるで日本刀か何かで切ったかのようにすっぱりね。
Those gaping wounds on their necks definitely made me want to avert my eyes. But after seeing that Halloween party in the chapel, even though they looked horrible, they were no longer enough to make me feel sick. More importantly, our gazes fell to their legs, to Dr. Nanjo's knee, to Kumasawa-san's ankle, driven into each of them with something like a knife or stake with a demonic design. Must have been the same thing that pierced Jessica.
ジェシカちゃんの時と同じね。何かオカルトの儀式のつもりなのかしら。
わかりません。彼らの遺体を最後に見た時にはこのようなものはありませんでした。使用人室から運び出された後にやられたのでしょう。
The one stuck into Dr. Nanjo's knee was still standing erect, but the one that had been thrust into Kumasawa-san's ankle might have been a little shallower. It had come out and fallen out, so by looking at the one that had fallen over, for the first time I realized it wasn't a knife, but something like a stake. Its full length was probably about 30 centimeters. It was probably made out of bronze or iron. Even without touching it, I could tell it had some weight to it. It was composed of a grip and a cone-shaped part, and it was obviously made to be a piercing weapon. Maybe it was like a miniature version of those lances Western knights used on horseback. The spiral-shaped ditches in it made it look like a small drill. However, the grip had an occult design that modeled off a demon or something. So instead of a weapon used in war, it felt like something that would be used in a ceremony to offer up living sacrifices.
間違いない生贄のつもりな。
第7の番に膝をえぐりて殺す。第8の番に足をえぐりて殺せ。
待てよ、それじゃ第4、5、6まさか。
Of course, why is Genji-san alone? If something like this has happened, why didn't George, Aniki, Goda-san, and Shannon-chan here? Why is Genji-san alone?
どういうこと？ジョージ君たち3人はどこへ行ったの？
夏日奥様のお部屋を探し物に行きたいと言われました。まだお戻りになりません。
なんだって、その出かけたってのはいつご。
2、3時間前のことだと思います。
そんな、なんでそんな大事なことをやっちゃなくて、なんで不審に思わなかったんだよ。
常に一人使用人は待機していなくてはなりません。彼らが戻るまで待機しているのが私の務めでしたもの。
Was Genji-san really this much of a robot? This is bad. It's really bad. Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa were killed like this, which means 3 people had already been killed. We ran towards Aunt Natsuhi's room, with a touch of anxiety and just as much resignation. Before we even saw the inside of Aunt Natsuhi's room, we were forced to resign ourselves to a certain fact. Out of that door was a bizarre scribble. No fill? Anyway, the room wasn't in an ordinary state, and without even opening the door, we couldn't imagine what we'd find inside. On the face of the door, how should I say it, handprints, done heavily with the same red paint as the magic circles as before, had banged on the door, scratched at it, dirtied it. It looked like the aftermath of a kindergartner playing in the mud. I didn't know what it could mean. The bright red paint that had been slathered was dripping down, even though no one had said it. It made us think of blood.
源氏さん、開けてください。
Aunt Rosa held her gun up high and ordered Genji-san to open the door. Genji-san approached it without seeming particularly troubled and turned the knob, but immediately turned around, shaking his head. It was locked. After that moment, there was only one person in this mansion who could lock and unlock doors at will, Aunt Rosa. This time, Genji-san asked Aunt Rosa to unlock the door instead of the other way around. After frowning slightly for a second, Aunt Rosa handed me a master key and told me to open the door.
バトラ君、これで開けてもらえる。
そのくらいのこと、ケンジさんを信用しても。
Aunt Rosa glared at me intensely. Getting into a fight here would only make the mood turn even sour. Without talking back anymore, I approached the creepy door and tried the knob. It didn't open. It's definitely the resistance of a lock. I struck the master key into the keyhole. Clunk. There was a slight resistance. Aunt Rosa told me to be on my guard, and I opened the door without really guarding myself in any way. Is Goda gonna fall on him? And then there was a scene laying out before us that didn't betray my expectations at all.
ひどい。
やっぱり第4、5、6の番の再現だったか。
Inside of the room looked as though a robber had just broken in. Drawers had been flung open, pulled out, and had their contents thrown about all over the place, leaving the room so cluttered you'd never believe it belonged to the methodical Aunt Natsuhi. But the very first thing that caught our eyes was Goda-san's corpse lying face down right in front of the door. Right in the center of his chest, almost as though it had been stuck there to finish off a vampire, was one of those demon stakes. Exactly how far could it have reached after being stuck that deeply into his chest? Just imagining it would make anyone's chest hurt.
腕をえぐれば第5の番だ。
Maria grabbed my hand. Her expression looked just like normal, but maybe she really was afraid of the aura in this room where 3 corpses lay. And along the wall farthest of the room, George Aniki lay dead. This time one of those stakes had been rammed to the right in the center of his stomach. Wasn't gouging the stomach the sixth? Oh my god. Shannon was face down on the dresser, lying in a sea of blood. Had she seen her own face in the end? In that horribly broken mirror stained with blood? Because she was lying that way, I couldn't see her face, but I could guess even without seeing it. Nearby in a sea of blood she lay, and a demon's stake had fallen. Only the fourth twilight was left, gouge the head and kill. Maybe my heart was totally worn out and dead. Even though I knew it was all wrong, I lifted her head and checked, and confirmed that my guess had been right on the mark. There was a gaping hole in Shannon Chan's head, and the insides were dripping out. Not only that, but you could even see inside her. After that, I finally realized I was doing something wrong. I immediately averted my eyes, but by now it was probably pointless.
こらバトラ君、警察が来るまでそっとしておかないとダメよ。勝手に触ってどういうつもり？せっかくの現場証拠がおかしくなっちゃったらどうするのよ。
Aunt Rosa got violently mad at me and even tugged at the back of my collar. Tottered and limply fell on my butt, gazing dimly at the ceiling.
お
これで第8の番第9の番って
第9の晩に魔女はよみがえる。だ
そっか。これで黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェはそして最後の
第10の晩に旅は終わり、黄金の里に至るだろう。黄金鏡の扉はもうすぐ開かれるんだよ。もうすぐ。
魔女はよみがえり、誰も生き残れはしない。俺たちはこれから死ぬのか、それともこれで生贄の儀式は終了で、何が俺たちの旅だ。俺たちは今日一日犯人を見つけよう、事態を打開しようと散々頭をひねって何も至れなかった。バカの考え、休むに似たりってやつだ。そうさ、俺たちは今日一日ずっと死んだ人間しか信用できないって言ってわざわざ3人の死に顔をここまで確認に来たんだぞ。こんな俺たちがどうして黄金鏡とやらにたどり着けるっていうんだよ。
Yeah, it definitely feels like it's the ending of this chapter at least. That's right, if we couldn't resolve any of our problems anyway, it wouldn't be so much better if we'd locked ourselves up the whole time without thinking at all. Grandfather's the wisest of us. He'd been shut up in his room since yesterday without any contact with anyone. That was the right decision. Grandfather was the most correct of us all.
大丈夫だよバトラー。マリアといれば大丈夫。魔女はとても気まぐれで、時に面白半分に人間を殺すかもしれない。でもマリアと一緒にいれば絶対に大丈夫だから怯えないで。
ありがとな、気休めでも嬉しいぜ。
After Aunt Rosa finished investigating their corpses, she announced that she'd sealed this room again, chased the rest of us out, and stole back the master key she'd lent me, locked the door again. Apparently, George Aniki had been holding the key to Aunt Natsu's room. She also collected that. Wait a sec. She got all the master keys on her person. If Natsuhi's own key was locked up inside this room, doesn't that make it another closed room? So what, is this the fourth closed room? Well, now we know how they got in there. Now that suspicion surrounding those three had been cleared, we'd return to the parlor once more. I don't have a clue what's going on anymore. If only the dead are innocent and everyone alive is a wolf, then that leaves me, Aunt Rosa, Maria, and Genji-san. And besides us, there's only Grandfather and that 19th person, the guest we've seen no trace of, Beatrice. 13 people have died and 6 are left. How would the wolves and sheep puzzle with only 6 people end? Even though a puzzle that started with 19 people had been reduced to 6, I can't think of an answer. We returned to the parlor. I was a bit worried that while we were gone, a creepy magic circle or something might have been drawn on the parlor door. But thankfully we didn't find anything like that.
ありがとう、源氏さん。 ここまでで結構よ。あなたも今日は休んでください。
かしこまりました。これで休ませていただきます。
おい、ローザおばさん。この状況下で、源氏さんをたった一人で過ごさせるっていうのかよ。
そうね。とても危険なことだと思うわ。でも、ならなぜ彼は無事なの？彼は3人が夏日姉さんの部屋へ向かった後、なのに無事だった。狼と羊のパズルよ。最も弱い立場となる孤立した羊が無事な理由は何？
狼がたまたまいなかったんだろ。
違うわ。それが羊じゃなかったからよ。
源氏さんが狼だっていうのかよ。
彼は一人で厨房にいたそうだけど、南條先生たちの死体を運んだりジョージ君たちを殺したりできたのは彼かベアトリーチェだけなのよ。
待てよ。その論法じゃ誰だって。
バトラ様、お気遣いをありがとうございます。私は信頼を勝ち得るのは常に100の言い訳ではなく、たとえ信頼をいただけなくても私は最後まで誠実でありたいと思います。
源氏さ
んなら決まりね。あなたが本当に無実なら、それは明日やってくる警察が証明してくれる。だからそれまでの間、あなたを疑いから外すわけにはいかない。長年後宮家に仕えてくれたあなたにこんな仕打ちをするのは本当に心苦しいんだ
No,
け
you
れど、
don't. You think he's
今
furniture.
夜は分かってください。そして明日になったらもう一度仲直りさせてください。
Genji-san gave his head a small shake.
今日も明日も私は後宮家の使用人で、ご用がありましたらいつでもお申し付けください。それでは失礼させていただきます。
After hearing all that, there was nothing left to say. Genji-san bowed deeply and left down the hall. Then we entered the room. Even though Aunt Rosa still had all the master keys herself, she thoroughly checked inside the parlor again. She opened the curtains and checked again to make sure the windows were locked. As I watched, how should I say it felt like it didn't really matter anymore. If I said anything careless, it would turn into another fight. For a while, I gazed at her from the corridor. I figured I'd waited just about long enough and entered the parlor behind her. She doesn't trust anyone but the dead. Why doesn't she just go around killing everyone with the gun she's got in her hand? And then in the end, she'll realize that she herself is the wolf. Then she can just blast through the head of the final wolf and close this curtain in this insane murder drama. As I thought that bitterly, I returned to the sofa where I'd been encamped before, rudely resting both my feet on the table. When I tried to do that, I found something there and stopped moving my feet.
なんだこれ。
Right there, almost as though it had been addressed to me, was a Western envelope. It was that envelope from before with the seal of the one-winged eagle, and it was unopened. Wait. What is this? Who put this in a place like this and when? So I went with everyone to check the corpses. I was sitting here the whole time. Obviously it's Beatrice, and there wasn't anything there then. When I returned, it was here.
大丈夫。戸締まりに問題はないわ。この部屋は安全よ。
I heard Rosa muttering that. Wait. We made sure this room was safe when we left it. We checked that the windows were all perfectly locked. Dude, they can go through doors. Like, then when we locked it up, came back, and the windows were still locked. Then wait, who put this letter here and how? I opened the letter. 2 pages of stationery came out. First page had a magic circle drawn on it with something like blood. If I asked Maria, she'd probably know what it meant. And there was writing on the other page. Have you made progress in solving the epitaph? In just a short while, your time will be up in a flash. The 9th twilight will begin quite soon. There was no mistake. It was a letter from Beatrice.
ほう、バトラー、それは？
あ、今ここに来たら、置いてあった。
どうしたのマリア？バトラ君、 その手紙は。
いや、ここに置いてあったんだ。どうしてだよ。この部屋はちゃんと戸締まりをしていたのに。どうしてだよ。どうして。
マリア、いらっしゃい。
Rosa closed her eyes just a little after thinking silently for a moment, told Maria to come. Maria obeyed her mother's words. As she did, something unbelievable happened. Is she gonna shoot her? Aunt Rosa pointed the barrel of the gun at me.
バトラ君、あなたを狼だと断定するわ。
どうして。
私はこの部屋にたった今帰ってきて、そしてマリアがそのテーブルに近づいていないことも知っている。わずかな時間よ。でもこのテーブルに近づき、そして手紙を。
そんなのって。いや、めちゃくちゃだ。なんで俺がこんなものを置くんだよ。おいおい、俺は不審なものを見つけて報告しただけ。なんで俺が疑われるんだよ。
あなたにしかその手紙をそこへ置けないからよ。そう、これは自作自演。あなたが懐から封筒を取り出し、たった今見つけたかのように振る舞った。密室の中に魔女が入って手紙を置いていった幻想を作り出すためにね。
Dumbass.
バカ野郎。またそういう考えなのかよ。そんなことで俺まで疑うのかよ。いい加減にしろ。俺は親父たちを殺されてるんだぞ。そんな俺がどうして犯人の片棒を担がなければならないんだよ。
そうね、たとえ莫大なお金がもらえるとしたとしても、そんなことで肉親の命を切り売りできるような。でもね、いるかもしれない。言い方が悪いわね。例えばバトラ君にとってルドルフ兄さんたちが親でなかったとしたら。
何を言い出すかと思えば、親父は親父だろうが。確かにキリエさんと血縁はねえが、俺の姉貴も同然のお人だ。そこだけは聞き捨てならねえぞ、この野郎。
言うのをやめなさい。ごめんなさい、言い方が悪く。確かに後宮バトラ君はルドルフ兄さんの子供かもしれない。でもあなた本当にルドルフに。
何をわけのわかんねえこと。俺がバトラーじゃねえんなら誰に
ルドルフ兄さんも含めて私たちは6年ぶりにあなたに再会しているわ。あなたが本当に後宮バトラーかなんて誰も証明できないのよ。あなたは本当は後宮バトラーじゃなくて、後宮家の財産をうまく騙し取ろうと紛れ込んだ何者かかもしれない。あなた自分が後宮バトラーだとはっきり証明できる。今この場で。
いい加減にしやがれ。俺は俺だ、後宮バトラーだ。そこまで疑い出したらあんただって本当に後宮。自分は自分だ。ああそうだな、あんたの言う通りだぜ。そこまで言うなら反論させてもらうぜ。ジョージの兄貴たちが死んでいた。部屋の鍵はジョージの兄貴が。そしてマスターキーを持ってるのは、あの部屋に施錠できたのはあんた。俺の推理じゃこうだ。あんたは真犯人と通じ合っていて、俺たちの目を盗み5つのマスターキーのうちの1つ。
そんなことしないわよ。ほらここに5つ。
そんなのは当てに。あらかじめ取り決めた場所に置かせて回収。それにマスターキーが5個かどうかは疑わしいと言ってたのはあんただぜ。
じゃああなたはその封筒を、あなた、それが証明できない限りあなたが。
うるせえ。ならあんたこそ証明しろよ。犯人はどうやってジョージの兄貴たちをどうやって施錠したと言うんだよ。
まったくにもってその夏日の部屋も全く同じだぞ。いつものと扉も窓も内側から施錠されていた。いかなるイカ様も細工もなく、そして隠された通行手段もなければ隠れる場。夏日自身の鍵はジョージのポケットに入って室内に閉じ込められていた。あとは5本のマスターキーしかないが、それは全てローザが持っている。ついでに言おう、その客間も同じよ。本来の客間の鍵は使用人室に封印されている。だからマスターキー以外では解錠不能。 部屋の密室定義もいつもに同じよ。おいおい、容疑者はもう一人しかいねえぜ。それでもまだかまととぶんのかよ、後ろ宮バトラー。
うるせえ。てめえも黙ってろ。
黙るのはあなたの方でしょう。あなた以外にどうやってその手紙を受けた、それが証明できない限りあなたは狼なのよ。
俺が疑えるってんならあんただって疑えるぜ。最初に部屋に入って戸締まりの確認だのを始めたのはそして俺の座っていた場所にこれはあんたの罠だって疑うこともできるんだぞ。
どうして私がそんな、私が狼ならこの銃で問題。
そんなのじゃ理由にならねえ。マリアの目の前で殺人ができねえからうまく罠にかけようって回りくどいことしてるかもしれねえじゃねえか。マスターキーは全てあんたのなら、ここもさっきも全部言い逃れできるってんなら言い訳を聞かせてみろよ。そうさ、ローザおばさんはなんで親族会議の大人たちが6人殺されたのにローザおばさんだ、なんでローザおばさんだけがあの一つしか理由がねえよ。くそくそ、それで全部説明がつくじゃねえかよ。ふざけんじゃねえ、ふざけん
I'm
じゃね
sorry. Tell that abusive
え。
bitch.
わけのわかんねえことを言うんじゃねえ。
Maria thrust herself between Aunt Rose and me as the blood started rising to our heads. I was taken aback by Maria's crying voice and returned to my sentence. I had acted shamefully just now, my eyes filled with tears.
全部鍵がどうこうとか全部魔女の仕業なのに俺たちは同じ人間同士を信じ合うこともできなくてなあ、ローザおばさん。だから俺やマリアだってどうしてこんなことに。俺はどうして優しくって大好きだったおばさんとどうしてこんな罵り合いをしてるんだよ。
Why'd you love such an abusive bitch?
なんでみんなで疑い合わなくちゃならねえんだよ。おばさんを疑ってなんかいないんだ。誰も疑ってなんかないんだ。全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。ベアトリーチェの仕業だった。全部ベアトリーチェが魔法で行った事件だったんだ。ベアトリーチェ。そして自分が全てやったと俺たちに告白してくれよ。もうごめんだ。こんな疑り合いはごめんなんだ。だから俺たちを許してくれ、解放してくれ。互いの死を見届け合うまで疑り合わなきゃならない地獄から解放し、俺に優しい親戚たちを。もう嫌だ全部嫌だ。お前は確かに実在する。姿を見せてくれよ。ベアトリーチェ。
Good gracious. He's literally turning into Kinzo.
私はまだ
Apparently, some time ago,
生きているのか。
Kinzo had fallen into a doze. He searched for his spectacles and looked at the clock. It was 10 p.m.
あやつの儀式は時間的にはもうだいぶ進んでいなくてはならぬ頃だ。
Kinzo lifted his heavy body from the chair and approached the portrait of the witch that he gazed at every day.
ベアトリーチェ、もうじきお前の微笑みに再会でき
So weird.
死んでもいい。お前の微笑みがもう
Yeah,
一
the
度見
voice
られる
acting
なら
so
この
good.
命は惜しくない。だから
交渉だ。お前にもう一度会わせてくれ。そして愛を誓わせてもくれ。私の罪をだが逃がさん。
They let her escape.
お前は私のものだ。髪の毛の一本からつま先まで爪の赤すらも私のものな。お前の肉一片までも全て私のもの。逃がさん。お前を永遠に私のものにしてやるぞ。二度と逃がすものか。二度と逃がすものか。
Even my cat started meowing, she was so freaked out. Ginzo howled in rage and suddenly fell to his knees as he shook and scraped at the wall, and in an instant he had started sobbing.
違う。私が言いたいのはこんなことじゃないんだ。頼む。もう一度謝らせてくれ。ペアトリーチェ。お前が愛しい恋しい。私が間違っていた。お前が微笑んでさえくれれば他には何もいらなかったんだ。私が間違えた。私がそれを間違えて取り返しのつかないことをしてしまった。
Did he rape her or something?
その償いに残りの全ての人生をさ、お前に詫びるために、私の罪を償うために全て捧げ頼む。私の死の際でもいい。せめてお前に
I feel no sympathy
一
for him.
言謝らせて。ベアトリーチェ。
Ginzo shook and cried. A butterfly appeared out of nowhere behind his small back like a flake of a gold leaf and softly descended. Well, Ginzo, do you think any woman out there would fall for a man's tears? Well, even if it would make a human fall for you, it might do the trick for a woman who is not human. Ginzo, do you remember the game of chess you played with me, which is still ongoing? Ginzo, though he had suddenly remembered something, approached the chess set. It was as though it had been during the game he'd played with Nanjo until yesterday. After knocking all the pieces off the chessboard, he began to line them up again one by one. It was a setup for an ongoing game.
そうだ。こうだ。私はクイーンを進め、とても良い名手だ。お前には少々きつすぎるかもしれん。お前は駒を見捨てるか見捨てないかに悩み、ずっと悩み。
Ginzo waited with the opposite seat empty. Surely very soon his opponent would appear there, and he would be able to restart this game again. You fool, Ginzo. You want to apologize? You want to see my face again? You want to make my smile an eternal thing? Why can't you say a much, much simpler word? Even though that was the sole element of this world. What, that he dubs her? After that time, Ginzo muttered, was it a prayer, an entreaty? It was probably best to just call it muttering.
お前を愛しているベアトリーチェ。
Those were pure words, like something an innocent child would say without any evil intent. You really are a fool, Ginzo. If you ever had the chance to do your life over again, know those words will never cause a woman to fall for you. That's right, not unless a miracle happens. That's what makes this. That moment, Ginzo definitely heard a small knock, one with a tempo that differed from ones of those servants.
誰だ?
The woman beyond the door didn't answer.
誰かと聞いてよ。返事をせるか。
The woman beyond the door didn't answer.
まさか。おお。まさか。ベアトリーチェなのか。ベアトリーチェ。 ベアトリーチェ
The woman beyond the door answered, "On the ninth twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive." Battler's figure was in the dining hall. He didn't feel like going back to the guest house in the middle of this rain and wandered half-heartedly around the mansion and searched for a place where he could sit before setting up camp in the dining hall. He didn't even lock the door. He thought the shapeless murderer, maybe the Golden Witch, might come and kill him now that he was isolated, but he no longer had any desire to resist. He didn't even feel like using a locked door to hold off the culprit. He wanted that person to come at him openly from the front. If it was the killer, he wanted to ask them some of those wonderful closed room tricks as a parting gift. If it was the witch, he hoped she'd at least take his life with some spectacular magic. However, ironically, neither of those two came to meet him. Battler opened the liquor cabinet on his own and enjoyed the liquor to his heart's content. No longer was there anyone to scold him for drinking. He boldly rested his legs on the extravagant tablecloth and savored the high-quality liquor, which probably had a mind-boggling price, drinking it down straight from the bottle. Then someone knocked. Battler realized someone finally had come to greet him.
鍵なんかかかって誰でも入ってきて、そして自己紹介。人間なら名前をベアトリーチェだってんなら、それはこ
Please
う
tell
見
me
て
your
も
bus size.
ちょいと知られたおっぱいソムリエなんだぜ。
源氏でございます、バトラ様。
源氏悪いがあんたのバスト入ってくれよ。空いてるぜ。
失礼いたします。
Genji opened the door and bowed. So is Genji-san the criminal after all, or maybe an accomplice? That theory would probably explain most of the tricks.
あんたが俺に引導を渡しに来たのかい？
そのようなことはお邪魔なようでしたら失礼。
おいおい、要件も伝えず失礼しますじゃ。何の用だよ。最後くらい好きにさせてくれ。
バトラ様はそのように怠惰に過ごされることをお望みですか？
Those words pierced me. That wasn't true.
今さら何ができる？俺はいつだって死ぬ。
親方様と同じですが、本当にあなたは親方様の血を色濃く受け継がれている。
あの豪傑なじい様が実はいつ死んでもいいと
Well,
思ってた
duh.
って
Why do you think
のか。
most people
そ
drink?
れは初耳だぜ。
親方様の人生はいくつかの悲しい出来事の末、すべて食材のためのものとなり果てたのです。
あんたは何を知っているんだ？
ベアトリーチェ様の儀式も、もうすべてをお話ししてもよいかと思います。
Okay.
なんだって？
My drunkenness was completely blown away. I lowered my feet from the table and listened carefully to hear what Genji would say next.
バトラ様、親方様の書斎へ親方様たちに
Oh yeah, he heard the
直接お
will.
話を聞かれる
He
のは
heard the
よ
will
ろしい
from
でし
him
ょ
too.
じい様。おい、それは一体どういう？
う。さあ、ご案内申し、バトラ様。
As Genji-san told me to follow him, he started to walk towards the corridor. I threw my drunkenness off completely and went after him. We climbed a big staircase towards the third floor. Genji-san stopped walking halfway. He turned back and spoke.
バトラ様、これよりバトラ様、理解できぬものを見るでしょう。
脅すなよ。理解できねえもんなら今日嫌になるほど見てるぜ。
見えるものを見えるがままに、聞こえるものを聞こえるがままに、なぜ、何、 何も必要ありません。バトラ様はただ真実を知ることになるでしょう。それをお認めになるか、あるいは否定されるかも。
Genji-san checked one last time to see whether I was prepared to know the truth. The 8th twilight had already ended. On the 9th twilight, the witch would revive and nobody would be left alive. It meant that Beatrice had already been revived, and probably also meant that none of us would be allowed to return alive. If I was going to lose my life anyway, I wanted to know the truth in the end. It didn't matter how hard it might be to accept.
鬼が出ようと魔女が出ようと覚悟できてるぜ。
本当にあなたは親方様の若き頃にそっくりだ。バトラ様、どうかご勉学にお励みを。あなたは将来必ずや大きな志を持たれるで。そしてその時、足りぬ学力に一生後悔されることがありませんよ。
勉学に勤しめる機会がもらえるならぜひな。
Edgy's silence felt like it was further confirming a certain resigned feeling I had. And then the door to grandfather's study, surrounded by a sweet smell, came into sight. Genji-san took a gold key with an elegant design from his pocket. The master's keys had been confiscated by Aunt Rosa, but he'd kept the key to the study alone. He put it in the keyhole and made a heavy clunking sound.
親方様、源氏です。バトラ様をお連れいたしました。
There was no reply, but it seemed that permission to go inside had been given.
さあ、バトラ様、どうぞ。
入るぜ。
I readied myself and then threw the door open. That moment I got slightly disoriented by the dazzling golden glow. It was unbelievably swarm of butterflies that shone gold. The gold butterflies completely filled the inside of the study and poured out all at once.
なんだこりゃ。
It was almost like a golden leaf confetti. The interior of grandfather's study was filled with a golden glow. And on a sofa like a reception chair in front of the study desk, I could see grandfather's back. There was something on the side opposite of grandfather. It wasn't a shadow, so I couldn't see it well.
親方様、バトラ様をお連れしました。
バトラか。今思考がしばし沈黙せよ。
Kinzo declared that unhappily his back still turned. It seemed he was enjoying a chess game with a visitor. Apparently the opponent had counterattacked with a superb move. Kinzo seemed to be enjoying himself as he thought deeply while occasionally laughing and groaning.
30年考えてこの一手をどう切り返すか楽しめ。30年を寝かせた我が一手を楽しめ。
まことにこの一手は味わい深き熟成された一手よ。楽しい楽しい、かなわぬかなわぬ。
これはなんだってんだ。
来たかバトラ。しばらく待て。金蔵のために沈黙を。まだリザインは早いぞ金蔵。わらわならもう数手は切り返せる。
It should have been my first time meeting with that witch, however I knew this witch. Even though it was our first meeting, I knew her from the portrait.
源氏、バトラのために飲み物を振る舞え。この男によりふさわしきやつは何か。
若き日より親方様が愛されている。いつも。
それが良いぞ。振る舞ってやれ。よくぞ来たな。後ろ宮バトラ、まずは座れ。そなたはわらわの名を、それに免じ、わらわとの面会を許した。そしてお前は何を尋ねるのか。黄金鏡の扉はもうじき開かれる。魔女たちを迎え入れてのわらわの復活を祝う宴はもうじきだぞ。それまでの間、お前の問いにいくらでも答えてやろう。
聞きてえことは山ほどある。 この島で何が起こった？そしてどうしてこんな事件が起こった？密室についても聞きたい。礼拝堂は、ジェシカの部屋は、シオニッサ、夏代おばさんの部屋、そして客場は、聞きたいことはまだまだある。魔女の正体は、本当にベアトリーチは魔女なの？何が目的だ？俺たちに何をさせたい？俺をなぜここへ呼んだんだ？
Battler, calm down.
答えろ、すべてだ。
やかましい。問えば答えは返るのか？
そういうな金蔵、もろく儚い雲の巣もヘロデの王から守ってくれることも、この世に無駄なものなどないように無駄な質問もまたない。よいよい、すべての質問に答えようぞ。ただし条件が一つ。
なんだ？
すべてを聞き、ひざまずき、お前を屈服させたくてわらわはここへ呼びつけたのだから。
The questioning's for real.
わらわと金蔵は賭けをした。金蔵が次の手をひらめくのと、わらわがそなたを屈服させるのと、どちらが早い？負ける気はせぬぞ。
でけえ口を叩きやがって。ああ、いいぜ。俺を納得させてみろ。お前が間違いなく魔女様で、不思議で素敵な大魔法を使えるってことを納得させてみろよ。屈服したならキスでも何でもくれてやる。
The witch cackled gloatingly. Then she glared at him unpleasantly with eyes that said a man can't go back on his word.
よくぞ言った。さて、どの問いから答えようか。すべて答えるぞ。さあ、まずは何からだ。
This might be a good stopping point for me so I can go munchies. We'll have to see though, maybe it'll get super interesting. Or is this the end? I don't know. Oh, okay, shit. And then the witch started to tell everything. Oh god, I'm gonna have to speed read. This shit goes really fast once it starts to go. She began answering all of Battler's questions. Everything made sense. He was convinced by all of it, and then Battler had no choice to admit it. The witch certainly did exist. Well, we knew that. We've been known that. What followed is a story that needs no retelling. When the king falls and you are defeated, it's time to start reflecting on your finished game. Then all you can do is set up the pieces one more time. It looks like we finished the second chapter. Woo! Yay! So I was always right about it being Beatrice. You're welcome. Second game. Result. Maybe I'll do the tea parties too. I'll have to see. Maybe I'll do one of them and leave the other one for next time. That'll be fun. Or maybe it might be too long though. I'll have to see. Lot to deaths. Oh, Mammon. I know Mammon, Beelzebub, Lucifer. I love all the... Oh yeah, Belfi, Leviathan. I love all the demon names. That's so cool. Open the door of the Golden Land. Oh, she invited. Yeah, didn't get invited. Rosa. Maria did. Genji did. I wonder about Battler. Oh, will he? I guess we don't know yet. I guess that, oh, that might be the next part, the little thing. The witch shall praise the wise and bestow the 4 treasures in the Golden Land. There they shall choose to revive the dead souls and the love that was lost. After all, their desire has been a mountain of gold of any size. They would not have been able to receive it. Kinzo chose the person he had loved and lost. Maria chose the lost love of her mother. Oh, that's so sad. Genji chose a peaceful sleep. Sleep peacefully, Beatrice. Let nothing disturb your slumber ever again. Yeah, I think Beatrice is tired of living for so long. The winner of the Golden Witch, Beatrice, because time ran out before the 18 could solve the riddle of the gold. All 18 die. When the seagulls cried, none were left alive. Title card. Yay! Woo!
どこなの？
Oh, there's something.
ベアトリーチェ、姿を見せなさい。ベアトリーチェ。
Rosa finally arrived at the chapel. She pointed her gun around, screaming the witch's name, but there was no way she would receive an answer. After grimacing slightly, she noisily approached the table where her siblings' corpses still lay exposed, and stretched out her arm towards a gold ingot. It was very heavy, but Rosa didn't mind. She wrapped that one up in the blanket and threw it over her shoulder.
せめてこれだけでも1000万以上の価値があるはず。
Without letting go of her gun, Rosa picked up the gold as well. Her shoulders were screaming, but Rosa didn't mind.
もうすぐだね。もうすぐ黄金鏡の扉が開く。
その気持ち悪い声で笑うのをやめなさい。ベアトリーチェはどこにいるの？ええ、分かってるわ。どこかにいるんでしょ？あなたは知ってるんでしょ？どこ？
知らない。探さなくても黄金鏡で会えるよ。
その笑いをやめなさい。私が笑いたいくらいよ。そうね。あれは間違いなく魔女だったわ。私は分かってなかった。魔女を名乗る人間だと信じてた。あれは本当に魔女だった。私はあんなのにごまかされないわよ。いるんでしょ？出てきなさい。スペアトリーチェ。
Fuck you, Rosa.
だからもうすぐ現れるよ。
そうだ、それでよかったの。構わぬ。ルークを捨てるぞ。持てるものすべてを失う覚悟がな。追い詰めるぞ。
せめてクイーンといほう、なかなかに妙手。諦めの悪さがそなたの。いや、後ろ宮の地下。
心地よし。実に優雅。
親方様、ベアトリー、そろそろ宴の時間でございます。
もうか、早い。お前と過ごす夜は月がリンゴのように落ち、川面より跳ねる小魚
Are they
の
the
よ
two
う
at the
に
Sweet
日が昇
Fish
るの
River?
だ。
Interesting.
行こうではないか。さて、わらわの復活を祝う宴の始まり。わらわの新しい家具。いや、玩具として紹介しようぞ。俺キレキの魔女たちに。
The witch was relaxing elegantly, her feet thrown out from the sofa and resting atop a footrest. However, the footrest wasn't a part of the sofa, but a human down on all fours.
ベアトリーチェ様、お召し替えのドレス。
主賓はお前だな。私は先に着付けの手伝いにシャノンでもおればよかったが、あいにく使いたい時にいつもおらん。つくづく使えんやつ。
What the fuck? Fuck you.
しかしお前はよく残ってくれた。嬉しいぞ我が友よ。
ありがたいお言葉です。
よい、二人とも先に下で待て。源氏、ご苦労。そのドレスはそこへ置いていけ。
かしこまりました。それでは親方様。
我らは先に行こう。ベアトリーチェ、後ほどな。
うん。
Hinza and Genji left the setting. After that, the witch in the dress and the furniture remained.
なぜわらわがそなたに肌を見せることを恥じぬかわかるか。そなたは家具だからだ。家具。わかるか。家具だよ、家具。家具に体をさらして恥じる者がどこにいよう。だからお前にわらわは恥じる必要がない。
The witch rose and her jacket slipped off just from her shoulders. After that, the jacket fell to the ground with a thump. When the furniture respectfully approached to pick up those clothes, the witch gave it a small kick and it fell over. The furniture was afraid of what misconduct it might have shown.
そなたは家具の分際でわらわに自らボタンを外させるつもりなのか。
Beatrice striptease.
立て。そしてこのボタンを外せ。一つずつ。早く、美しく、粗相なく、客人たちを待たせてしまうぞ。早くわらわをと。丁寧に外すのだぞ。そなたの目玉一つよりも高価なボタンであるぞ。間違ってちぎるようなことがあったなら、かわいい。
The entrance hall was bustling with a crowd of shadowy people. It sparkled with gold and gold butterflies flying about. The gentlemen in suits and tuxedos and the ladies in dresses looked like they were having a great number of friendly chats. At a glance, it might have looked like a fabulous medieval ball, but they all had one thing in common, and that was exceedingly bizarre, because all of them had goat heads. Was it a goat mask masquerade, or did they really have goat heads? It probably couldn't be the latter, but in this bizarre world, I really didn't know which was true. Maybe they're like hiding their identity. Kinzo was among those goat nobles greeting them. Kinzo's greeting were more respectful than would have been respected, as though they were all honored guests. That time Genji's voice ran out through the hall. It was a voice calling for silence. The voice stopped the idle chatter and everyone first faced Genji.
復活を遂げましたる我らが黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ卿のご入場でございます。皆様拍手をもってどうかお迎えください。
A different dress, I wonder. When Genji began to applaud, it quickly spread through the guests and became a roaring ovation. Then the Golden Witch appeared from the top of the large staircase as she gracefully waved her hand, followed by a piece of furniture she was fond of, slowly descended the staircase. The goat nobles offered unanimous words of celebration in some long-forgotten language, and those who were deeply intimate embraced filled with joy at the reunion. As the witch offered greetings of reunion, the witch's furniture followed behind her the whole time. There was a chain around its neck. The other end was gripped in the witch's hand like it was a trained dog. It wasn't there to restrain him. Those chains were a restraining device whose only purpose was to wound the furniture's dignity. He wasn't permitted to wear anything else on his body. Oh, there's Rika. One of the young woman goats mixed in with the goat nobles. Removed her goat mask. Yeah, I thought it quietly removed her goat mask as the furniture passed in front of her. She spoke with eyes that had no light in them. The face seemed to belong to a long-haired girl. Oh my god, look! This is so cool.
Oh, ベルンカステル卿。これはようこそおいでよ。わらわの家具を気に入られたか？いい趣味ね。
I know. After saying only that, the witch called Burn Castle once again put on her goat mask and was swallowed up by the shadows of the other tall goats.
負け惜しみを悔しがってるのよ。
違いない。
The young woman goats giggled and the witch once again let out a high-pitched laugh.
今宵はわらわのためによく集まってくれた。久々に古今東西の旧友たちが集う魔女の宴を存分に楽しもうではないか。さあ、今宵を食い明かし、飲み明かし、すすり明かし、食いちぎり明かして、とことん楽しもうではないか。時計を見よ。終わりの時間と始まりの時間が溶け合う時を指すぞ。魔女の宴を始めよう。
When the witch announced the beginning of the banquet, the large clock pointed to 12, and the sound of the bell began to ring out.
さあ、今こそ黄金の扉を開こうぞ。
All at once the butterflies leafed in gold and flew around inside the room. Amidst the golden storm and the brilliant gold-colored light, the barrier between this world and another was cut open. Surrounded by the goat's array of voices, the mansion of the human world and the mansion of those not human overlapped, and the members of the household who praised the resurrection of the golden witch scattered into gold butterflies and poured out of the depths of hell. It was a golden tornado, a rondo of golden demons. Come, tonight we put aside rank, throw open the wine cellar, drop the snake's head into the liquor pot, throw cows and chickens into the furnace alive, drink and eat and sing and dance, snare and kill and desecrate and degrade.
今こそ私を
The goat nobles were suddenly crushing in around Kingo, almost like they were kids demanding the signature of some famous movie star. There were only two differences. First, there were witches, not kids. And second, what these witches demanded was not a signature. The goat nobles began to drown Kinzo. Only Kinzo's laughing voice echoed through the area. It was a grand mixture of laughter and his death throes. As Kinzo became wine and meat and bread, an aroma of slurped, a rich taste gnawed, and pleasant to tear to bits. The sound of his death throes lingered on sweetly, and if adorned with melted chocolate and golden argent, it would make a wonderful dessert. If you took the bones home, you could also use them in a soup, and the remains could even become toys for children to play with. And they could also become splendid tools for fortune telling that always brought misfortune. That entire scene was watched by the furniture. It was all fantastical. It was all demonic. Was the quaking of its supposedly paralyzed heart proof that it could still feel fear? That time its knees buckled and the furniture's body fell down in the middle of the carpet. After all, the witch had kicked those knees from behind.
ひざまずき敬意を示せ。額を絨毯にこすりつけて己神の癒しさを示す。両手を後ろで組み血肉のすべてをわらわに捧げることを誓え。
The furniture let out a painful voice. Fear is the most basic emotion humans have. Was that emotion reviving his sense of self, which should already have been slain?
まだまだわらわの家具にはふさわしくないか。よい。じっくりそなた。わらわ好みに。そしてわらわにのみふさわしい家具に仕上げてやる。今のそなたにできるのはせいぜい客人の方々を楽しませることくらいか。
The good nobles were surrounding the crouching furniture. It seemed their blazing, blood-red eyes couldn't hide their ecstasy at this new, young food they'd been given. From the ugly teeth that stuck out of countless mouths, saliva, or maybe traces of meat and wine they had just eaten. Excuse me, had just eaten dribbled down. As the furniture let out a wild scream, it returned, sitting on its backside, but the circle of goat nobles was closing in. Then the furniture looked at the witch's face. It had surrendered to the witch, so believing that the witch would show some compassion, it stared at her face in the end. But there was nothing but scorn on the witch's face, and she wasn't even facing the furniture anymore. The witch went off to greet an honored guest with whom she had crossed gazes. The goat nobles looked down upon the furniture. Actually, they had been waiting, just like how one must remove the cork in order to drink champagne. They had to wait for one thing before partaking the offering served at this banquet. Of course, the furniture didn't know about this thing, but it came out of his mouth all by itself. Just like the unavoidable pop of a cork, it inevitably came out of his mouth. It was a scream. It was a sign that marked the beginning of the modest banquet at which he was to be served. Oh, Jesus. This voice actor is going in. Well, by now the garden was one of both roses and gold. A gold-colored garden where gold butterflies, gold fairies, and gold lizards rampaged and flew about wildly.
Maria! Hayaku! Hashite! Hayaku! 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 Hayaku!
Rosa grasped her gun and blanket wrapped around the ingot, ran at a speed Maria couldn't match, sometimes pausing to call out Maria to run faster, so she saw it every time. She saw the golden pursuers chasing them from the mansion. The massive gold butterflies was chasing after them like a massive crawling hand. A strange-looking shadow of goat heads were chasing after them. There was no need for her to strain her eyes, because they were blazing pupils told her what would happen if she was captured. Maria fell down. For just an instant, Rosa was ashamed by thoughts of abandoning her daughter and running away, and at the instant her feet touched the ground, she ran back. The goat head that had spreaded over to get the first bite grabbed the hold of the back. Ah! Stop yawning me. Stop yawning. Grabbed hold of the back of Rosa's own child hair and pulled. Rosa rammed into the goat head with her shoulder, spun, bashed the back of her elbow into the goat's jaw, and buried her knee into its protruding chest. She thrust the barrel of the gun inside the goat's head's mouth as it doubled over from the pain in its gut. The blast from the gun exploded inside the goat's throat. Jeez. And its medulla was instantly pulverized with its brain part. The goat head hadn't understood. It had thought women were like pre-opened wine bottles. It had thought that turning them upside down would immediately make their deep red contents come out. I think I might stop and save here so I can get some munchies, and then we can have this exciting scene for next time. And I'm thinking next time I might play some Paper Mario too. That'll be fun to get into that. But yeah, 3 hours isn't bad. Yeah, we're at the end of it definitely. And next time we'll have this and also probably a tea party and other stuff that comes with the after, and maybe start on chapter 3. Yeah, so thank you to everyone who's been here at any point, or if you, anytime you've been watching. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I hope that everyone who's been here has had a good day or night, or continues to have them. And so, yeah. Thank you again. And I'll be back soon, maybe tomorrow or whenever whenever I have the energy, really. So stick around, and I updated my Discord every time I'm live if you're not in it, so please check that out. Its link should be here. So yeah, thanks. And bye bye. Bye, catch you next time. Thank you. Bye